their fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch? Every day, from lunch to late night. Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Insurance companies have teams of professionals to fight your claim. If you want to know what your case is really worth, I'm Spencer Callahan. I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7970.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan. LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Eagle 98.1 Game Day is on. Presented by Super Chevy. See your Super Chevy dealers of Baton Rouge. This is LSU football.
Daniels looking to air it out. Has a man open at the 6-yard line right down the middle of the field. Chris Hilton Jr. Touchdown, Fighting Tigers. Motion Neighbors. Here's the snap. Diggs, right side. Diggs powers his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Fighting Tigers.
LSU football on Eagle 98.1, the flagship home of the Tigers. Today, from Davis Wade Stadium in Starkville, it's the LSU Tigers and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Now, here's Charles Sandegriff and Matt Musso.
Charles Sandegriff along with Matt Musso and our entire ESPN Baton Rouge staff will walk you up to the kickoff of tonight's ball game between the LSU Tigers and the Arkansas Razorbacks. Yeah. The Tigers come into tonight's game with a record of 2-1, ranked 12th in the nation by the AP and 13th by the coaches. Last week, LSU opened Southeastern Conference play with a 41-14 win on the road at Mississippi State. For LSU, it was an offensive show led by Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors. The two hooked up a record number of times on the day, and for Daniels, it may have very well been his best game as an LSU Tiger. The running game got going with Logan Diggs, and defensively, LSU was able to constantly put pressure on Mississippi State quarterback Will Rogers. Save a couple of special teams gaffes, it was pretty close to a perfect performance for LSU to get off to a good start in Southeastern Conference play. Now the challenge for the Tigers is to come home and get it done against an Arkansas team over which they are an 18-point favorite. The Hogs come in also with a record of 2-1. They won their first two games of the season before losing last week at home against BYU by a score of 38-31. Sam Pittman's club has been for the last two games without their star running back, Raheem Rocket Sanders. The junior is questionable for today, and it will go a long way towards determining how effective Arkansas is on offense. The quarterback is a veteran. The senior, KJ Jefferson, has done a very good job for them, but needs a little bit more help if Arkansas is going to get where they want to go. Musso, this is one of those games where LSU is supposed to win. They have the better team on paper. They have the better team on the field. They have the home field advantage. And one of the best players on the field tonight may not play for the other side. Still, it's a Southeastern Conference game, and even though they're playing this game a lot sooner in the schedule than they ever have before, this has always been a sticky wicket for LSU. The Arkansas game never quite goes exactly how you think it will, and that's something that we have to be aware of when they kick the ball off tonight.
The last three decided by a total of 9 points, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
three each time. The last time Arkansas came into Tiger Stadium, they won the game in overtime. You're right. It doesn't. It's the same script every year. LSU's supposed to win. They have one of the best players on the field. It's LSU Arkansas. The difference now, it's moved up in the schedule. That's been a big talking point this week. That might be a huge difference in the ballgame because LSU's kind of got one singular focus. They're not coming off a letdown. It's Arkansas only. But you mentioned Rocket Sanders. Remember last year, KJ Jefferson missed this game.
Yep.
It really hampered Arkansas on offense. Without Rocket Sanders, you're going to get a heavy dose of KJ Jefferson tonight.
This was sort of the game where the world was introduced to Harold Perkins last year, and certainly Arkansas was introduced to Harold Perkins. We knew who he was before that, but this was the one game where everybody went, Wow, look at that guy. Last week, I thought he looked a lot more comfortable in the situation than he did 2 weeks prior when he was playing on the inside. Now back in his comfortable position on the outside. The Tigers will be playing with heavy hearts today. One, of course, concerned and praying for their teammate Greg Brooks. Brooks, the senior captain from New Orleans, had emergency surgery to remove a brain tumor. And obviously that's going to be weighing on the minds of his teammates, and of course all Tiger fans are wishing him the very best. The news, at least in the last 24 hours, has been somewhat encouraging, so we'll continue to keep Greg Brooks in our prayers as LSU takes the field tonight. Got a big show for you today. All of our staff contributing, of course, and we'll get you everything you need to know about LSU and Arkansas. From Rouse's, this is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Call in Baton Rouge. Operator, what you put me on through? Gotta send my love down to
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Skull Session. Offense. Presented by Gulf Coast Bank. Gulf Coast Bank. The bank that cares about you. Now, here's Charles Hannegriff. And from the LSU Sports Radio Network, Gordy Rush.
Well, Bears countdown to kickoff about 4 hours and 50 minutes as we get you going here on pregame from Rouse's. Kent, one quick update. A&M leading Auburn 6-3, but Max Johnson is now in the game at quarterback for Texas A&M, and I'm not sure, Musso, we can check on this. I don't know if there was been an injury to Wegman or if they're just both offenses have been stuck in the mud all day. Yeah. So I don't know if they've just made a change for making a change or if something has happened with Connor Wegman, so we'll see what happens there. Gordy, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. I'm watching this barn burner in College Station, so there was a lower injury, lower injury to Wegman's leg, so that's why they made a change.
Yeah, both offenses have really had a hard time getting going in that ball game. LSU's offense didn't have much problem a week ago, Gordy. It was a fabulous performance by the quarterback, and the other things, once you get past how good Daniels was, the two big things to me. Number one, the running game has gotten going, and you can speak about the personnel there, both on the offensive line and in the backfield. But the other thing was that the drops were absent, and I just wonder, going back to the first game, how much different that game might have been had LSU not dropped as many passes.
No, I think it's great points. LSU caught the football, and I think Diggs especially is just another level. And I know it was by committee against Mississippi State, but I think Diggs gives them somebody that has the chance to separate. Look, a couple of things I'll add. Obviously, they didn't play the likes of Florida State. Florida State was very physical with that front four. I think they had something to do with it. And I thought the execution and recognition was just so much better. There were times in that first half they sputtered over in Orlando. And then there were times Jaden just made the wrong decision against Florida State. I don't think he made a bad decision last week against Mississippi State. He was able to identify what Mississippi State was doing pre-snap, and he took what the Bulldog defense gave him. And it was just a clean game by Jaden.
When we talk about the run game, we talk about the improvements on the offensive line. Lance Hurd continues to make progress, Gordy, and we tend to, I do, tend to spotlight on him a little bit. And maybe I should be paying more attention to Emory Jones going into guard and some of the things that opens up in the trap game. You mentioned this in pregame last week, that he is a superior pulling guard. And so while we're watching the tackle, they're a lot better inside, too, when they make that change.
Yeah, I think it opens up some of that misdirection game. They like to run some traps. I think, again, going back to Diggs really does a great job of being patient, and his ability to slide and find a hole is something that you don't always see on a consistent basis out of the LSU running back. And something else I'll throw in, and then we'll see if they get back to some of that jet package. I like some of the Jets things they can do out of jet sweep. You can set a counter back the other way off that jet sweep, and having Neighbors and Anderson, who are really effective, taking them all of that slot. That keeps that in the playbook arsenal. That wasn't really a thing last year, except for the bowl game against Purdue.
Let's talk about what defenses are doing now against this option package when Daniels is getting to the outside. Richard Dixon was pointing this out in postgame that since Florida State started flying two people to the outside, that LSU was going to have to be able to counter that because they were taking the edge away from Daniels as much as they could. What do you see when teams are defending Daniels on the edge?
Yeah, I mean, that was something we saw late in the season. The people would just extend their nickel and outside linebacker wider. They wanted to not only set the edge, but show pre-snap that they were going to establish that. And I think the difference, again, is the increased production from the running back position. I mean, that was last year. I remember at Arkansas, Barry Odom had 4 defenders inside the tackle box and just felt like there was nobody explosive enough in the LSU backfield that they couldn't fall back and react to outside in. And I don't think that's the case. And look, I think the ability to run some RPOs in the middle of the football field as well. If you want to continue to get wide, can we attack the middle half of the middle 1/3 of the football field behind where those linebackers are?
Last week against Arkansas, BYU didn't exactly control the tempo offensively. They didn't have a sustained ground game. They didn't have a very efficient passing game, but what they did was they made a lot of big plays, Gordy. There were 6 plays of 20 yards or better, and that came both the run game and the pass game. So when you look at Arkansas defensively, what can LSU exploit for some of those explosive plays?
Well, I think they're going to get more opportunities to make some big plays. I mean, Travis Williams comes over from Central Florida. He was with Kevin Steele at Auburn. And spent a lot of time from that whole, I guess, if you want to call it a little bit of Nick Saban tree. I mean, Kevin Steele's his own man, but they're certainly going to bring more pressure than what Barry Odom had done. over there in Arkansas, and with added pressure is going to be opportunities to make big plays. Last week, Arkansas was the better team statistically. It was the 14 penalties. It was the 2 turnovers in the red zone, and BYU was very opportunistic, as you mentioned, to make some plays. And so I think, again, it's been a theme in the SEC. We talked about it last week, and we'll talk about it this week. 2 new coordinators on offense and defensive. They're changing, I think, their MO with what they're doing. And they lost their best 2 players from a year ago, arguably in Sanders and Bumper Pool, the inside linebackers. And so I think they're finding identity under a new defense, and they're just giving up some big plays.
Gordy, LSU's had a lot of success offensively on third down so far through the first few weeks of this season. Is there anything – I know Sam Pittman had to talk about it a lot this week because they're going to be tasked to stop it. Is there anything you've really seen that you can pinpoint as to why LSU's been so efficient on the money down?
No, I think it's about Jaden's consistency, and then I think being able to identify what defenses are doing. I mean, last week Mississippi State, to me, just played an enormous amount of zone defense. And when I went back and looked at the film, Musso, I mean, they gave LSU acres of space, and I thought Daniels did a great job of checking the ball down to the running back, checking the ball down and being patient to a neighbors that would just run a 6-yard, 5-6 yard drag, and yet still have 5 yards before he got to the line of linebackers. And I think that's just in this day and age where you don't have a lot of continuity in the SEC, the same coordinators, the same quarterback, you have that at LSU, and that's what you see, and I think.
We're here at Rouse's, the Rouse's brand of products, the best quality products at the best price, and compared to the national brands, Rouse's Market sells them, but the Rouse's brand is at a lower cost, and most of the Rouse's Market brand is made right here at home. And Rouse's travels the world as well. We personally tasted and tried and guarantee everything in the brand. I shop here. It's right near my home, right near the LSU campus if you're stopping in for tailgating supplies as well. If the Rouse's Market's name is on it, you know it's good. We'll come back. We'll take a look at LSU defensively against Arkansas. That is next. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day, Skull Session, Defense. Presented by Edward Jones, making sense of investments. Now here's Charles Hanegraaff, and from the LSU Sports Radio Network, Gordy Rush.
Back here at Rouse's, former LSU quarterback Max Johnson leads A&M on the first touchdown drive of the day for either team. Paid it off with a touchdown pass to his younger brother, Jake Johnson, to put A&M up 13-3. Florida State Clemson knocking on the door now. They're at the Florida State 1-yard line trying to break a 17-17 tie. That game is deep into the third quarter. Gordy, let's talk about the defensive effort for LSU last week. We could probably start off by saying Mississippi State is a mess offensively, but that's sort of their problem. But give me an overview of what you saw last week from the Tigers defense.
Well, look, I thought LSU was sound, and the big story was were they going to be able to handle the physical, new-look Mississippi State run attack that they had, introduced with the change of coordinators and especially the way that they ran the ball with success against Arizona, and the answer was yes. I'm with you. Mississippi State looked like a square peg in a round hole last week, trying to go from Mike Leach's air raid to a power 11 running game with Will Rogers, who looked completely lost at the helm there. A little bit different situation, but somewhat similar in that you have Dan Enos that's come in and tried to at least put his little touches on Kendall Briles' offense, and it's been clunky. I keep using that word this year, but they don't run with the same tempo. They haven't run Richardson as much as what Briles has run in the past. And the big storyline is this offensive line, which has been short some guys. They've had some guys out, especially at the offensive tackle position. They've struggled. They had a ton of penalties against BYU. They had 5 on the final drive in which they were trying to go down there and tie the game. And they've struggled to protect the quarterback. So, I mean, that's been the storyline. It's really been a disappointing start for Arkansas's offense.
To me, when I look at them, the component that I think is missing, and I understand they've been without Sanders, but it's the running aspect of KJ Jefferson. When he's at his best, when he's at his most dangerous, is when he is out in space, when he's making plays with his legs. And he reminds me a tremendous amount of Jordan Jefferson when he was at LSU. When Jefferson was at his best, it was when he was running, and he was a threat to run, and it opened some things up in the pass game. I think this KJ Jefferson has really, they have not tried to run the football with him as much, right. Gordy?
Yeah, that's been the story. That's been the question mark talking to the people I trust up there in Arkansas. There hadn't been a commitment to run Jefferson, and as big as he is, and we saw that 2 years ago here in Tiger Stadium, how effective he can be when you let him run designed runs, and then if it's not there in the pass game, he was able to tuck it a couple of years ago, and he was really successful at that. So a lot of criticism on the offense with the new coordinator, and I mentioned he didn't run the tempo and the pace that they were successful with a year ago. We'll see if there are changes tonight in Tiger Stadium.
I was very encouraged with what I saw out of Mason Smith last week. Gordy, I don't think that that I can see, maybe you're on the sideline, that there is much after effect of the injury. he doesn't look like he's hurting. I did think that there was a conditioning issue because he had missed so much time in August. I thought he made some real strides last week, looked better in week 2, and the conditioning will continue to improve.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And the good thing about this LSU defense, and I've continued to say this each and every week, last year it was Gay, it was Ojulari, it was Jay Roy, and it was Wingo for 86, 87% of the snaps. They don't need to depend on just 4 guys anymore, and so you've been impressed with everybody that they've thrown out there, and so that's what, can you get half the snaps or 40% of the snaps out of Mason Smith? Continue to get him in game shape as this stretch of SEC games go on.
Gordy, takeaway from Whit Weeks last week and expectation for tonight, because no Omar Speights, you'll see him again.
Yeah, no question. I think that Weeks was, for a freshman, as polished and as patient as I've seen an inside linebacker in a while. And what do you mean by that? Well, inside linebackers are taught to play inside out, move zone, stay one step behind the ball. And I think what's hard for young linebackers, they're especially in this day and age, are so athletic, is that they just over pursue the football. And there were a couple times where he was real patient. He played inside out. He was able to go in there and fill a run gap. And then there was one time he had a delayed blitz in which he put a little hurry on Rodgers. He looks mature beyond his years.
Gordy, they were without Greg Brooks last week. Obviously, they're going to be without him. So what personnel-wise, have they done? We saw some more of Andre Sam last week, but what changes does that necessitate in the secondary?
Well, against Grambling, when they moved Perkins out to nickel, it was Brooks that really lost a lot of snaps, as they felt like they were more comfortable with Burns and Sam in the football game. I think the big thing is that when they face teams that are going to go a lot of 4 wides or 3rd and long, when they go to a dime package, we've seen Ryan come in and play a little bit underneath, and we've seen Yates that has come in, the true freshman, has played the center fielder in that dime defense. So I think 2 of those are the 2 names you'll see.
Special teams wise, a couple of breaks in coverage. I thought we had kind of put most of the special teams woes behind them, but that reared itself up again last week.
Yeah, I know, especially on kickoff, and Coach talked a little bit about that when I had a chance to visit with him on Monday. Just some lane responsibilities, and give Mississippi State credit. I thought on 2 of them they did a really nice job of setting the edge and getting a good kick-out block as well. It's tough to clean up, but I tell you, not at when we were talking special teams this time last year, it was half the show.
Right.
And so there's a couple coverage things I think you can live with as they get the right people situated, but much improved from a year ago.
Wow, Max Johnson has come in and sparked the A&M offense. A touchdown drive on his first drive, and now about a 45-yard, 50-yard touchdown bomb for his second touchdown pass of the day, and A&M opening things up now on Auburn. Clemson has punched it in, and they lead Florida State now 24-17. Gordy, the atmosphere tonight, the SEC Open, it's kind of a weird schedule this year. LSU's only having 2 home games in the first 6 weeks of the season, and this is the only conference game. So expecting a big crowd, obviously, tonight. The weather's fantastic. But also the thoughts about Greg Brooks. This is a very serious situation. I know it's on the minds of his teammates and the coaches and, of course, everybody out there. So a big atmosphere tonight, but with thoughts about 3.
No, absolutely. Our thoughts and prayers with the Brooks family, and with a little information that we've gotten out of there. And naturally, I mean, this is all Brooks family. It's a tough situation. We continue to pray for him. So much more than football, and so our thoughts are there. But I think when you talk about this football game, you're exactly right. I mean, with Auburn and Army sitting down here before we get to the bye week, and knowing that Auburn offensively is a little bit of a mess, and this Arkansas game, rare time that we play Arkansas in September, that it's going to be the last time potentially in a while that we play Arkansas. There's no game on the schedule next year, and I think it's just some Tigers or the fans they got some built up want to see some football. It's been a tough ticket to get. All the Lord Bowl is 100% sold out. There's just upper level tickets, and I'm expecting a great crowd tonight in Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, I kind of buried the lead here. Whoever wins the game gets to keep the boot for longer, man. I mean, this is huge, right?
Yeah.
Gordy, you Gordon the boot? I mean, where's the boot?
Is that a good thing? I mean, you never know what's going to happen with this new SEC schedule. Might have the boot for a decade.
Yeah.
Look, I think the good thing is it's going to be a while before 8 players have to carry that thing off the football field and nobody pulls it back.
It is gaudy. All right, Gordy, have a good call. We'll talk to you after the game.
Okay, thanks, Charles.
All right, we are here at Rouse's, your LeBears countdown to kickoff, about 4 hours and 30 minutes. We'll take a break. We'll come back, get you up to date on what's going on throughout the world of college football at Autolocks is next. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Autolocks. Presented by Excel. For over 30 years, excellence in providing construction engineering and fabrication services. For information, visit us at excelusa.com. Now, here's Jimmy Ott.
And we return here to Rouse's, and the first game we were planning on talking about was Clemson and Florida State with Jimmy Ott, and we just got a scoop and score from Florida State off of a sack. And this, with the extra point coming, will tie the game here at 24 with about 30 seconds to go in the third quarter. Jimmy, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. Massive play right there. Clemson's, they're playing very inspired, and they're going in for a double-digit lead, whether it's 10 or 14. And, man, boy, you talk about the biggest play of the game, no question.
You know, before this, Clemson just seemed like a half a step ahead of Florida. It's not that they've run away and hidden this game, but it just seems like they've been, like I said, a half a step ahead of them all day and really robbing Florida State of any offensive balance. They haven't been able to run the football at all.
Yeah, they hadn't. And then when they tie it up and get the ball in great field position, they went run, for no yardage, put them at 3rd and 10, and they couldn't connect. So, Clemson, I mean, they're fired up. I mean, they're really playing up. Klubnik is he's playing very solid ball. Now, he didn't protect the ball right there, but still, I mean, Clemson's giving them all they can handle, and now we're still tied when they should be up a couple of scores.
Yep, it looks like we'll go to the 4th quarter tied. In College Station, a really ugly offensive first half for both teams, and Texas A&M getting a real spark from the former LSU quarterback Max Johnson, who's come in and thrown a couple of touchdown passes and really gotten the Aggie offense going, and Auburn just has been stuck in the mud offensively the whole game.
Yeah, he's changed the game. I mean, I didn't see that coming because Wedman's been pretty good for them. But, no, he's lit a fire under them. They did have 2 really nice drives that stalled down in the red zone, so they had to settle for a couple of field goals. Auburn is, like we said on the show, shame on Jimbo. It's year 6. He can't beat Hugh Freeze in year 1 at his place. But this is major line movement. It went all the way up to 10. So the opening line was like 7. So this was a lot of sharp action on the Aggies today, up 23, 4 minutes ago in the 3rd.
We got so many games on this card today that are attractive. Let's move to the 2:30 slate and start in Tuscaloosa. Ole Miss, about a touchdown underdog right now. That line holding at 7 where I'm looking, Jimmy. Alabama going back to Jalen Milroe at quarterback. What do you think in Tuscaloosa?
Well, a lot, and I know you picked Ole Miss in this game, but Alabama, okay, is down. There's no doubt. And it's not just the quarterback, okay? It's the whole roster. And Bryce Young covered up a lot of their deficiencies. Hard to imagine how they got to this point and misevaluate some talent, but still, Charlie, this is more of I'm not so crazy about Ole Miss. Tulane's going toe-to-toe with them, tied in the 4th quarter with the backup quarterback. The Georgia Tech game was 7 in the 4th quarter in Oxford. So, I mean, as bad as Alabama or back to the, just being average for Alabama, I'm not totally sold on Ole Miss, what they've done to this point. So, I mean, they got a big, big break, with Pratt going down for Tulane. I think they win that game. It's hard to say if everything would have played out the same. But look, the world's on Ole Miss, including you, but I'm not impressed with them to this point. It's not a game that I'm looking to play either way, though.
Deion Sanders has been the story of the college football season so far, and Colorado off to a 3-0 start. Jimmy, they were a little bit fortunate last week to get out with a win. This is a tall task for them today in Eugene. Oregon's got superior personnel just about across the board here, and they're a 3-touchdown choice. This is not a game that Colorado is supposed to win, but I am anxious to see how they play, and they'll be without Travis Hunter today as well.
How many? And they've had one emotional game after emotional game. At some point, you got to be on fumes, and I think a little bit of that was the case last week. I mean, Colorado State should have won the game, but I'll tell you this. I talked to my buddy Craig Jackson in Natchez. He's got unreal action on Colorado money line, including a couple of 4-figure bets on Colorado money line. So it's they're betting Coach Prime. The viewers, the ratings have been unbelievable. It's just been crazy. Keep in mind, though, their win total is at 6.5, and I'm leaning toward the under right now. It's a tough one. It's going to be right at it, I think. So with all this going on, we're still looking at maybe a 7-5, 6-6 team when it's over, or maybe, he can continue to surprise us. But Charlie, they're a play away for TCU losing that game. It's certainly one of 10 different plays that did go that way in the Colorado State game, and they're closer to 1 and 2, than you realize.
Otter 2:30 in Salt Lake City, UCLA and Utah. No Cam Rising for the Utes.
Right.
Dante Moore, dynamic, but a true freshman making his first road start, and in Rice Eccles of all places.
Yeah, that's a tough place to get your first road start. I mean, I don't know if it's the altitude. I don't know exactly why, but no team is as wide of a margin as far as home and away, with the value. So it's going to be tough for them to go in there and win the game. But, the kid is really good. I've seen some really good quarterbacks, Hall of Famers, with their first road start in a hostile environment, really struggle. So not just there and, with that one, points are going to be at a premium. It'll be similar to what that Florida game was, but I'm looking at Dante Moore's the real deal. He does not look like a true freshman playing. He's got a lot of poise and feel and instinct. He moves well on the move. He throws the ball well on the move, and he's a threat to run it as well. But, those are the two big spots. And then the biggest one tonight is, this quarterback, all due respect to Bloomington, Indiana, that's not a hostile environment. So, I mean, that's what I want to see also, and that's why I think Notre Dame has the big advantage tonight with McCord making his first road start in front of a hostile environment.
The other game among ranked teams tonight, it's flying under the radar a little bit because so much attention is on Ohio State and Notre Dame. But Iowa and Penn State really like the freshman quarterback Alar at Penn State. Iowa offensively challenged as always. Penn State a 2-touchdown choice tonight at home.
Alar is going to be really good. How good is he right now? He's okay. But, man, he's got all the physical skill set. And, look, Iowa's still going to play tough on defense. They're fresh on defense, but their top two running backs are out. Their tight end, who's probably their biggest weapon, their biggest pro prospect on the offensive side, he's out for the year, Lachey. And the quarterback is banged up. This is a tough assignment, especially offensively. This just in, I'm going to say Penn State's a low-scoring game involving Iowa. But it really is. It really is. I mean, it's a shame because I was beating them the last two times, 2 and 3 years ago. So it's not an exciting brand of football, but it's pretty damn effective. But the whole whiteout tonight with the primetime kickoff as well. So Penn State's going to be hard to beat, but that's a lot of points. All
right, LSU and Arkansas tonight at Tiger Stadium. LSU a 17.5-point choice right now. We still don't have an up or down signal on Rocket Sanders for Arkansas, but the Tigers trying to build on that win last week against Mississippi State.
This is where I like Arkansas. Under their win total at 7, they lost 3 offensive linemen, lost both coordinators, so I really have a lot of respect for in Briles and also Odom. Barry Odom did a nice job with UNLV. By the way, what a strange game in Fayetteville last week. You were talking about runs. Arkansas scores the first 14. Then BYU scores the next 1. Then Arkansas 17 straight, and BYU closes with 17 straight. It was bizarre. But keep in mind, Arkansas did have 4 more first downs, 143 more total yards. They blew it. They had a missed field goal, had turnovers, a failed attempt on 4th down. But Arkansas should have won. That line is inflated because of the final score and them losing to BYU at home. But I also feel, how is Arkansas going to slow down LSU's offense? So I think looking for a big day. I don't know if he could be as good as Daniels was last week, but I'm looking for a big day, a lot of points out of the LSU offense.
Any other games you recommend on the card anywhere?
Oh,
I served this one up for you. Go ahead. Take it from here.
I like where are they right here?
I know you like Middle Tennessee, as do I.
I like Washington State.
Yeah.
Middle Tennessee State. We are not alone. Everybody on the emotional spot. Keep in mind, too, another reason why Norvell for Colorado State should have gone for 2 when he scored. You can try and win or lose it right there. Kamara, a critical call, too, in overtime. He's sitting out the first half of this game. That's their best defensive player for Colorado State. So, and how do you follow up, what they had? I like Memphis in a neutral site against Missouri. You rush the field. You set up for a little bit of a hangover in that one. Central Florida and Kansas State quarterbacks are out. Look for the under in that one. And, so and is USC going to be looking ahead a little bit? As bad as Arizona State's been, but, they got a big game next week as well.
Who's bringing us Auto Locks?
Excel for construction maintenance, turnaround, fabrication, disaster recovery, and project management. It's Excel, and they're a one-stop shop for everything. You can avoid the stress and inconvenience of having to, coordinate multiple contractors. Award-winning safety. For more information, excelusa.com.
Football Sunday tomorrow from the Queen at 10 o'clock. You, Rohan Davey, me, and a host of all of our contributors will talk to you in the morning.
I'm over here, warming up the seat right now, Charlie.
That's nice of you. We appreciate you doing the research. Always working. Thanks, Jimmy.
I got it.
All right, we will take a break. Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl will have our scouting report when we return here at Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day Scouting Report. Presented by Demco. Demco. Powering lives. Brightening the future.
Welcome back in Eagle 98.1 Game Day. We're live from the Rouses on Burbank and Lee, a few miles from the LSU campus, counting you down. Saturday night in Death Valley, the Tigers back home after a trip to Starkville. They welcome in the Arkansas Razorbacks. Tigers looking to push their record to 3-1 here on the young season, get to 2-0 in the SEC. take a closer look now at the foe tonight. Time for our scouting report. We welcome in our friend from the Reese's Senior Bowl, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. That's Jim Nagy. Jim, we appreciate the time another week, as always. Thank you. Good afternoon, and how are you?
I'm doing great, Matt.
Great to hear, and another great opponent to break down here. And, Jim, it's funny. You know, I can think back to doing this interview last year, and outside of Hendon Hooker and a couple others, there weren't many quarterbacks that we really looked at. This year, it seems like every week we started with the quarterback, whether it was Jordan Travis or Will Rogers, and now it's going to be KJ Jefferson, who one of the more intriguing prospects, I think, coming into the SEC. When you looked at a league that didn't have a lot of veteran quarterbacks, he was certainly one that stood out above the bunch, returning to Arkansas to head an offense under new offensive coordinator Dan Enos. KJ Jefferson with a lot of question marks towards the next level, but definitely a solid college player.
Yeah, I think you look across the SEC, KJ was definitely one of the names coming back with like Joe Milton and Jaden Daniels. There was a few. Yeah, KJ is a unique player just because of the size factor. He's a legit 6'3". You know, regardless, depending on where he's at with his nutrition, in the spring he was like 255 for the NFL scouts, and they went through there. So a big guy. Anyone that's watched Arkansas play can see that he's a little like Ben Roethlisberger in the sense that he's really hard to get on the ground. We call him a hard sack. He's really tough for defensive linemen, linebackers to get him on the ground. So big, strong guy. He can throw it. This is a big prove-it year for him. You brought up being in Dan Enos's system, which is more pro style than they've been in the past. So it's more progression reads, and I think that's what the NFL is going to want to see. But in terms of having the physical stuff, I mean, he's a really good runner too. He's not a dynamic runner, but again, with his power and his size, he's hard to bring down. So unique player. He'll present a lot of challenges to LSU today, and they're coming off a tough loss last week to BYU. So KJ's going to have to play good football to keep them in the game.
Projectables with KJ Jefferson real quick. I mean, I know obviously you mentioned kind of the arm in a prove-it year, so that was kind of the narrative all throughout. I know he's had some injuries in his career from running, and Sam Pittman and those guys over there in Fayetteville throughout the offseason kind of talked about him wanting him to throw it more to kind of keep him out of harm's way. So in a prove-it year, maybe projectables for him come April?
Yeah, he's going to be. I think he's going to be drafted. I've talked to enough NFL teams that have draftable grades on KJ, but it's there's he kind of is carrying the label of developmental right now, if you will. So again, this is the year where you want to see him in a more pro style system, not rely on his legs so much to take off, and just be able to go through those progressions and make plays from the pocket. Because when he's in the pocket, he's hard to bring down. So. But, yeah, I do think he gets drafted. I think he's one of the SEC quarterbacks that gets picked in April.
Let's talk about some of the guys he's throwing the football to. One in particular, Isaac Tesla. He's got a very expensive last name there, but he's huge, massive size. I mean, 6'4", over 200 pounds, kind of the prototypical wide receiver that you would see in the Southeastern Conference. And he's off to a pretty good start so far this year as well through the 3 games.
Yeah, so Isaac's a transfer from a Division II school, Grand Valley State up in Michigan. And like you said, I mean, he's 222 pounds. He was on Bruce Feldman's freaks list, which so we know he's going to test well. I think he's going to be almost like a 10-8 broad jumper and a 38-inch vertical jump guy. So really, really test well. We had a scout at the game last week when they played BYU. They said this guy's really put together. I think right now he was super productive at Grand Valley. Let's talk about that. He was the first-team All-American Division II player. Had well over 1,000 yards and a bunch of touchdowns. I think he looks like he's just adjusting to the speed of the SEC game right now. So I think you're going to see a different player when we get into November once he really transitions. Right now he kind of feels like he's feeling his way a little bit as a route runner, but a big target, athletic, plays on all the special teams. So he's the type of guy that usually goes in that 5th, 6th round area, because you get excited about Isaac when you think about what he could be 2 or 3 years down the road. Maybe not a finished product coming from a small school, but there's a lot of talent there.
So you touched on the level of competition there, and that's kind of where I was going to go next. And I guess, Jim, really, this is kind of just for my own intrigue. How does that factor in? Obviously, it does, because you mentioned it. They want to see him kind of take the next step up. But is that something that could ding him if it doesn't come to fruition, or is the tape that they've seen at Grand Valley enough to still kind of have that third-day draftable grade on him?
Well, it depends. If he doesn't show progress, yeah, it can certainly work against him. if he doesn't show the progress, he probably would have been better off staying at Grand Valley State, because then there would have been the intrigue factor about, wow, what would this guy look like against better competition? So he just needs to show steady improvement. I think right now, when you're watching him on tape, like he doesn't look real confident in his route. He's not running his routes fast. Like you don't really see the speed. You see it on special teams when he's just running down there trying to cover kicks and punts. You're not seeing it as much as a route runner, and that's usually because guys are thinking too much and they're still trying to learn their way in an offense. So yeah, he needs to show steady progress. It needs to look different in week 10 and 11 than it does here in week 3 and 4, and that's all the scouts will be looking for. They're not looking for a complete makeover of a player, but you do want to see the progress.
All right, we are talking Arkansas after all, and they are coached by Sam Pittman, so we got to talk about the offensive line. I mean, we can't not talk the Arkansas Razorbacks and leave out the offensive line. And they've got a couple of veteran guys up front in Latham and Limmer on the offensive line. They're both with plenty of starts under their belt.
Yeah, Bo Limmer, Brady Latham. They've got another guy, Crawford. These two guys have played a ton of football. They're both inside players. Limmer will be the center. Latham will be the guard. I think Latham's going to have to play some center at the next level. They both look like NFL backup players, guys that will play in the league. They've played a ton there at Arkansas for Sam Pittman. There's not a lot of wow factor to them when you watch them on tape, but they kind of grow on you. Their effectiveness. They're really effective players. They get people blocked. Like, they're not maulers. They're not going to knock you off the ball, but they're also going to be in good position. They're going to be smart in their pass protection. So just two really steady, dependable players. And again, guys that have played that long in the SEC and have their kind of tape. I mean, those are usually, mid to late day 3 players. You're talking in that 5th to 7th round range. Two good ones, two really good ones for KJ Jefferson. Inside, they'll be tasked taking on Mekhi Wingo, Mason Smith, the likes of those guys over at LSU. Want to flip to the defensive side of the ball here real quick for a familiar name. Again, we're talking with Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, getting our scouting report on Arkansas. Mentioned familiar name, guy that LSU fans know, loved, maybe resent a little bit more now. That's Dwight McGlothern. Of course, started his career with LSU, was successful, has since moved on to Arkansas, where he's continued that success. Big, tall, long corner, kind of the mold that we've talked about a lot early in this year, and certainly somebody LSU fans, again, familiar with, but we'll get reacquainted with later tonight. Yeah, he certainly fits the LSU mold. There's no doubt about it. He came in just under 6'2", for the NFL scouts. So he's got that long, lean body type, athletic. I think when you watch the junior tape, because they haven't been tested a bunch this year, when you watch the junior tape, the thing that stood out were some of the ball skills down the field. A lot of guys lose track of the ball, and then even if they do find it, they can't really play it. He makes some really nice plays on the football. So he's got some playmaker in him, and he is that long corner that every team's looking for. And there's a good class of long corners just in the SEC. I mean, Auburn's got a couple. There's some good guys around the league this year. But yeah, McGlothern on the defensive side of the ball, he's their top prospect this year. Imagine he will draw the assignment of guarding number 8, who's coming off a decent effort in Starkville, I would say. Yes, he is. Jim, one more before I let you go, and fan base might get a little mad at me for asking this about McGlothern, but projectables on him? I think right now we've got him in like that 4th round range. I don't think he's at the top of the cornerback class, but I would say in that 4th, 5th round range. We had a guy in the game last year, Darius Rush from South Carolina, who was a big 6'2" corner that ran 4.36 the combine. McGlothern's game kind of reminds me of his, so probably in that area. Again, and he can move up if he has a good day. If he has a good day against Neighbors, that'll certainly help him. But that's probably where he is for most teams right now, like early day 3. He is Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. He's on Twitter at JimNagy_SB. You can follow the Reese's Senior Bowl on Twitter at Senior Bowl. Plenty of great stuff there. They do a great job covering the event all year long, not just the week of the game. Jim, we appreciate the time as always, and we'll do it again next week when the Tigers head to Oxford. All right, Matt. Have a good Saturday. Yes, sir. Same to you as well. We're going to grab a break, come back on the other side with more. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the the right care.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years.
98.1. The First South Farm Credit College Football Scoreboard. First South Farm Credit, financing farms and land since 1916.
Setting up for an exciting finish in Clemson, South Carolina. Florida State and Clemson tied at 24 with 8 minutes to go in regulation. Florida State a 56-yard fumble return after a sack that has tied this game up, and they are tied with 8 minutes to go. Fourth quarter scores: number 16 Oklahoma leads Cincinnati 20-6. Syracuse leads Army 29-10. Texas A&M leads Auburn 20-10. Auburn with a defensive touchdown just moments ago. Who said it was a coach on the field?
Yeah, that was Jimbo Fisher.
That was Jimbo Fisher.
That was
okay.
Jimbo Fisher, the head coach.
Okay. He wanted to get out the way, maybe?
I mean, he was standing right in the path of like a giant human being running down the sideline.
Big offensive struggle in the first half. Max Johnson, the former LSU Tiger, has gotten the A&M offense going. He has come on for an injured Connor Wegman and thrown 2 touchdown passes in the second half. Troy leads Western Kentucky 20-17. Continuing with fourth quarter scores, Kentucky big over Vanderbilt 38-13. Marshall leads Virginia Tech 27-14. TCU leads SMU 27-17 with under 2 minutes to go there. Tulsa leads Northern Illinois 22-14. Western Michigan, a surprise leader over Toledo 20-14. That game is going to the half. Georgia Southern leading Ball State 17-0. That game is early in the second quarter. The 2:30 card is a good one. Number 19 Colorado at number 10 Oregon. No Travis Hunter for the Buffaloes. Oregon is a 3-touchdown favorite. Number 11 Utah hosts number 22 UCLA. Utah 3-point favorite there. No Cam Rising today again for Utah. Number 13 Alabama hosts number 15 Ole Miss. Tied a touchdown favorite there. Number 18 Duke goes to UConn at 2:30. Tricky spot here for the Devils, the Blue Devils, even though UConn is 0-3. Duke's got Notre Dame coming next week.
They do.
Look ahead spot here potentially. Number 20 Miami is at Temple. Florida Atlantic is at Northern Illinois. Maryland at Michigan State. Louisiana Tech at Nebraska, Boston College at Louisville, BYU is at Kansas, Texas Tech at West Virginia, New Mexico at UMass, Ohio is at Bowling Green, Delaware State's at Miami of Ohio. 3 o'clock kick for Texas San Antonio and number 23 Tennessee, and a 3 o'clock kick as well for Oklahoma State and Iowa State. Musso, total in that game is 35.5.
Don't forget the hook. Don't forget the hook there.
Offensive points probably at a premium today. Rice and South Florida also kick at 3 o'clock. 4 o'clock kickoff for Eastern Michigan and Jacksonville State, Central Michigan and South Alabama. 5 o'clock kickoff for Gardner-Webb and East Carolina. 5:30 for Liberty at Florida International. Georgia Tech at Wake Forest. That's on the CW.
That's a short line, huh?
That's. I'm just trying to figure out the ACC games on the
CW. Yeah, the CW network.
6 o'clock kickoff. The two remaining members of what used to be the Pac-12. Number 14, Oregon State, and number 21, Washington State. This has got the potential to be a really good matchup. Both of these teams come in at 3-0. They're holding all of the votes in the ACC, in the Pac-12 right now.
They are.
What that means is the judge upheld the ruling because all of the other conference members wanted to vote on revenue distribution. What was going to happen is about $50 million in NCAA basketball money that the conferences do. They've got about another $50 million in assets, and the other schools said, hey, we want to divvy this up before we leave, and Oregon State and Washington State were like, we're keeping that, and the judge says, yeah, hold up, we'll keep that. Interesting meetings that they're having with the Mountain West. They're talking about things like having the two leagues merge and having the Pac-12 banner be the lead and the Mountain West be the smaller league, and potentially shuffling members back and forth like they do in European soccer, whereas if you lose too many games, you're relegated or you can move up. It presents a whole lot of logistical problems with regards to budgeting and scheduling, but it's not an uninteresting idea.
It's very interesting, but why can't the Pac-12 do things easy? I mean, why do you? I mean, look.
Oh, I can answer that. They have lousy leadership.
Yeah. I think they should put the $50 million at stake in this game. The winner gets it. Just gets the pot.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Right? More intrigue.
I like that.
More intrigue.
6 o'clock kickoff for Charlotte and number 25 Florida. Sam Houston in Houston. Colorado State at Middle Tennessee. Arizona at Stanford. Nichols is at Tulane. App State at Wyoming. Southern Miss at Arkansas State. Nevada at Texas State. 6:30 kickoff for UAB at number 1 Georgia. Number 3 Texas is on the road at Baylor. Huge game tonight in South Bend. Number 6 Ohio State and number 9 Notre Dame. Also at 6:30 tonight, another matchup of ranked teams is number 24 Iowa visits number 7 Penn State. That is the whiteout game in Happy Valley. Akron is at Indiana. Memphis is against Missouri. That game is in St. Louis. Minnesota at Northwestern, Mississippi State at South Carolina, Buffalo at UL Lafayette, number 17 North Carolina at Pitt. 7 o'clock kickoff for Central Florida, Kansas State, James Madison, Utah State. 8 o'clock kick for UNLV, UTEP. 9:30 kickoff, number 5 USC is at Arizona State. Cal at number 8 Washington, Kent State at Fresno State. And the late game out on the island at the Clarence T.C. Ching Athletic Complex. New Mexico State is at Hawaii, and that is your college football scoreboard. Did we get an update? Is Michigan going final now?
They have. It's 31-7 was the final score there.
Okay, 31-7. They spotted Rutgers a touchdown in the first quarter and ran off 31 in a row. And this is the last game that they will be without Jim Harbaugh.
He was back.
Oh, he was back today.
He was back today.
I'm sorry,
He was back today.
Back today. Okay, 31-7 was your final there, and that is your college football scoreboard. Recruiting with Shay Dixon is coming up next. We're here at Rouse's. Rouse's brand of products, the best quality products at the best price. They compare to all the leading national brands that Rouse's sells, but at a lower cost. Rouse's markets brand made right here at home, and Rouse's travels the world as well. We personally tasted and tried many of these products. They guarantee everything in the brand. If the Rouse's market name is on it, it's guaranteed to be good. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Recruiting with Shay Dixon from On3 Sports. Presented by Ralph's Market. Ralph's Market, where quality and customer service are a family tradition.
And we return here at Rouse's, your LeBears. Countdown to kickoff about 3 hours and 50 minutes before LSU and Arkansas. We bring in Shay Dixon. Good afternoon, Shay. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Charlie?
Man, I want to talk with this big football game coming up. I want to talk about basketball. I'm leading with basketball. Biggest commitment, I would say, for Matt McMahon since he took the job with 6'10" Robert Miller committing to the program yesterday. I know it's a big basketball weekend besides that with some recruits coming in, but first of all, let's talk about the commitment of Robert Miller, a legacy at LSU. His dad was a football player here.
That's right. So, yeah, got a big commitment and then have a number of big official visitors in. But, yeah, starting with Robert Miller, Matt McMahon and his staff picked up this commitment on Friday. And we're talking about on 3, a top 40 player in the country, one of the best power forwards, 6'10", 225, plays over in Houston. But as you noted, his dad, Rob Miller, played at LSU back in the day on the D-line. His mom actually played basketball at Tulane and then went on to play in the WNBA. So he's got the bloodlines athletically. And then even to take it one step further here, Charlie, is not only did his dad play at my alma mater, his dad also played at my high school. Hattiesburg High was a standout back in the day. So big pickup for LSU there with Robert Miller. And the hope, Charlie, is that in basketball it can play out like this quite often when you're only taking a handful of guys in a class. You get a guy like Robert Miller to buy in, and other big names could potentially follow.
Let's talk about the rest of the visitors that will be here for, like we said, a big basketball recruiting weekend for the Tigers.
Oh, gosh. I mean, think of this. They have 4 guys on official visits. Derek Queen, one of them, coming out of Baltimore. He's a top 15 player in the country, 1'5", number 2 power forward that's out there. He's uncommitted. They're battling the likes of Indiana for a kid like him. Nick Cody, coming out of Carrollton in Texas, a top 50 player. On threes, a top 35 player, one of the best power forwards in the country. You're battling a team like Houston. Rakeem Passmore is another guy who's coming in this weekend for an official visit. Top 50 player in the country. Small forward, about 6'5", 185, 190. But Wake Forest is a team they're probably really going to battle there. And then Jakari Harris, coming out of Loganville, Georgia, Grayson, which is well known for football, but they've got a nice basketball program. He's a top 100 player, one of the top shooting guards in the country, and they're going up against teams like Purdue. So I think what you can take away from this is, and something Scott Woodward's talked about before, year one for Matt McMahon, Woodward almost considered to be year zero, right? They were under the NCAA investigation was still ongoing. It was being dragged out. Kids don't know if you're going to have postseason ban, what, ultimately the fallout does look like. And you can promise them things will be okay, but until it's actually finalized and resolved and that cloud is removed and out comes the sun, can you start to really hit the trail? And I think you consider this to be year one for Matt McMahon and that staff. And with all the NCAA stuff behind them and nothing to, sweat about at this stage, it seems like they're finally starting to be able to bring a lot of these really big-name guys to campus and get them in the boat, like a Robert Miller.
Shay, the probation was one of the big problems, but I would tell you that from what I was able to gather, the other big problem was, as bluntly as I can put it, LSU's NIL budget for men's basketball was not where it needed to be. You can look across the board. The football NIL money is where it's supposed to be. The basketball is not. Baseball money is where it's supposed to be. The women's basketball NIL money is fine. But, frankly, the budget for men's basketball was not going to be in place until that probation was out the window. Does it feel like that has been rectified from what you've been able to understand?
Well, I tend to Matthew Broom covers all this for us. I'm so heavy into the football side, but yeah. I will say this. We put our two thoughts together, Charlie. We're, 1 week or 2 weeks into the visit season, because they like to bring guys in for football games, and you're getting a commitment from a top 50 guy, granted a legacy, but you're getting 4 more guys to campus who are all top 50 players and are being recruited by the who's who of college basketball. I would assume that, yes, things are probably moving in the right direction.
All right, let's move on to football. This is the last game LSU is going to have at home for 3 weeks, so we kind of touched on that last week. There's a little bit of a sense of urgency to get some people on campus today because it's going to be a minute before they get back. Who's highlighting the list this week?
Well, the number one player to highlight is the only official visitor, and it's Kerry Bussey coming out of Texas. He's a 5-star. It's down to A&M as the lead team, but he's giving LSU and Bama a look. He was at Bama for the Texas game. They obviously lost that game, but he made an official visit that weekend, and now LSU's next home game is this one. So he's coming in for an official visit. He's in with a number of people kind of from his camp that will help him make a decision, and then he's going to announce next week. So this is LSU's chance to swing for the fences. Again, a 5-star. If they landed him, he's the highest-ranked person in their class right now. So to say that this is big would be an understatement. That's who they're swinging for. And they've got a lot of, all the commitments mostly are going to be in, which you always want to see. They have a ton of kids from Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, Florida, coming in for the 2025 and 2026 classes. So I've continued to say I like the head start they're getting. But maybe the most notable is going to be George McIntyre, who's the number 2 quarterback in the country. They've been chasing for next year's class the number 1 and 2 quarterbacks in the country, Bryce Underwood and George McIntyre, and have put themselves into the top couple of teams for both. And Underwood will be here for the Auburn game, which, strangely enough, is the next home game, about a month away or whatever that is, Charlie. But McIntyre is in this weekend. So Joe Sloan's done a really good job of getting these guys to campus each a few times this offseason and then very quickly getting them in for games. And they'll make decisions after their junior season. But boy, oh boy, if LSU can come away with one of those guys, I'm not going to say program changing. It'll be one of the biggest quarterback commitments they've had in a long time.
Shay, I want to take it back to Terry Bussey real fast. Just a quick note. Y'all have him as an athlete on 3. Which side of the ball does he project on at the next level?
Yeah, what's crazy is that he puts up some of the best numbers in Texas on offense, special teams, and defense. So he is the epitome of athlete. Most schools like him at DB. Most schools like him at safety. So LSU, that's kind of where they're recruiting him at. And certainly this team is low on safeties right now. A lot of the backups are injured or just kind of, we haven't seen much of them. So landing another elite guy, in addition to Sean McBride at Denham Springs, is awesome. They've got Joel Rogers as well as a top 10 safety, top 20 safety nationally, I should say, but top 10 player here in Louisiana committed. You add one more in a guy like Busty, and that's quite the room if you can get that trio.
Shay, on a personal note, I know you were able to attend the LSU Hall of Fame inductions last night, and of course, I know your wife is so closely connected and working with the program. So I know that it meant something to her too to see Sam Nader go in last night, and just to note, I know you worked and talked with Sam for a long time. Everybody knows Sam Nader. He's been here since I used to joke that he's been here since they erected Memorial Tower. Took Sam's class. Known Sam forever. So I know it was a special night for him last night to go into the LSU Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that was really awesome to see. I mean, you talk about the ultimate person who just gives and gives and gives and doesn't expect anything back, and that's Sam Nader. And anybody who's ever met him knows that. Kevin Falk was there to present him with the award, or I guess the plaque, and as he got inducted, his whole family was there, all of his granddaughters. So I mean, it was they probably took up a quarter of the Manship Theater down there cheering for him, and it was well deserved. I'll give you my favorite Sam Nader stories is back in the day, and obviously he's not roaming the sidelines anymore, but pregame you can walk around and mingle with recruits or the team, whatever. Everyone's kind of crammed on the sidelines together, but you're not supposed to talk to recruits. So, every time I would be out there and be trying to get some photos and thinking, hey, maybe I could just introduce myself to that guy real quick. He's from Maryland. I've talked to him on the phone a lot. I never get a chance. And I kid you not, almost every single time I'd get a tap on my shoulder and I'd turn around and Nader would say, Shay, don't talk to any of these recruits today on the sideline.
I can hear him.
I don't know how he's everywhere, but he always was. So, yeah, what a well-deserved honor for probably, I think you'd agree, Charlie, one of the best people you'll ever meet.
Yeah, no question. And it was, and for me, on a personal note, to see, my longtime friend Jim Hawthorne, the longtime voice of the Tigers, go in as well last night was terrific. I owe Jim more than I could ever repay him for. So I was obviously happy for him to get that award, the honor of going into the LSU Hall of Fame last night. Shay, what's coming up after the game on 3?
Well, man, we'll have a lot of recruits' reactions to this one because there are so many guys in that football and basketball-wise, and the women's team has some people in. So we'll have all kinds of reactions to what they thought of the game, their visit weekends, and then breaking down everything we see from what could be a 3-1 start and 2-0 start here in SEC play. That'd be nice. I'll also say to add real quick before I go, Charlie, that I think I clocked it that Hawthorne's speech, or really Q&A, was kept about under 12 minutes. So
yeah.
The over-under goes way under in that one for all the bettors out there.
Thanks a lot, Shay. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, Charlie. Thanks so much, guys.
Appreciate it. Shay Dixon with On 3. Florida State with the football in a tie ball game. Clemson misses a 29-yard field goal inside of 2 minutes. And so the door is open here for Florida State to kind of steal one, Musso. Clemson, frankly, has outplayed them most of the game. But the scoop and score off of the sack tied it. And now Clemson has left this door wide open with 49 seconds to go. Florida State has the football near midfield. They are looking at 3rd down and 9, though.
They are. I mean, and look, Andy, Clemson played conservative down there for that field goal, too. I mean, it was third down. They centered the ball with Klubnik running it. And, I mean, look, the kicker, he was in Charleston, South Carolina on Monday, and Dabo called him to come back. I mean, just goodness, what a spot to be in. And kind of predictably, I mean, yeah, he shanked it. Good Lord.
Okay, Florida State converts on the 3rd down and 9. They've got the football just inside the Clemson 40-yard line with 43 seconds to go. We'll take a break. We'll hear from the guys on OTB when we return. Game day, LeBerge down to kickoff is about 3 hours and 40 minutes. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down to my last dime. Come on, live Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Off the bench on Game Day. Presented by Shell. Shell is the rhythm of Louisiana. Off the bench is heard weekday mornings from 7 to 10 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now from OTB, Jacob Esther and T-Bob Hebert.
Let's start talking a little Arkansas. As, like I said, dove into that Arkansas BYU film beginning to end, and felt like I learned a lot about this Arkansas team. There is some sort of inexplicable stuff, but I feel like you have some very distinct advantages. Jake, I don't know about you, but I came away very unimpressed with Arkansas's defensive line. They don't look small or anything. Like if you just saw them, eye test, like, okay, they have pretty good size, but they showed an almost complete inability to affect the game with just them. They were having to add people if they wanted to get any pressure on Keaton Slovis. For the second game in a row, I expect LSU's offensive line to dominate.
And remember, BYU have been struggling coming into that point as well. So it's not like BYU has this stout offensive front. They lost a couple of draft choices or NFL guys over the last couple of years. And a school like BYU, you lose something like that, it's hard to replace, and it shows up on tape. And they've been struggling to run the football. BYU has, which is crazy because they've always been able to run the football, be more physical. But when you're talking about the Arkansas defensive line, like, this is not like a really good offensive front that they just win against either.
You have 2 great tackles on this LSU line, and you're training a third in Lance Hurd, who, again, I don't think we talked about Lance too much in the film review. I thought from last week, Hurd, it clearly looked like you see all the potential. It's still great, but it's still a work in progress. Like, I think Miles Frazier still represents your best 5 out there right now with the rotation, so guys stay fresh into the fourth and whatnot. So look, I think that LSU's line should dominate, and then by extension, Jake, I'm expecting just another huge game out of the offense. Like, I think that Arkansas, unless they're just going to change because they did this for a matchup standpoint, they seem to want to play a lot of man in this game. And like I said, if they wanted to try to generate pressure, they had to add numbers, so it kind of made them fall into man. I mean, it kind of forces your hand, I guess, a lot of times. But I think the opportunity for explosive plays will be there the same way that they were this last game. And if Jaden Daniels should be willing to trust his receivers to win those one-on-ones and should have the protection to deliver the throw like he did last week.
Looking at the breakdown, as you mentioned, a couple of man coverages. I mean, they played cover one, which is a man coverage 27.1% of the time. They played two man 8.5% of the time. So we're already talking about 35% man at this point already. And quarters 20% of the time. So, I mean, another 3.4% on man. So they're trusting their defensive backs. I mean,
Dwight
we're
McLaughlin, one of them.
Look, it's 40% right now. Just last game, they played man against BYU. Now, how much of that was because they had the advantage they felt like against BYU? Are they really going to try to go play cover one, two man, all these coverages against Malik Neighbors?
Well, so that's where it gets interesting, right? Because if they felt like they had an advantage against BYU, it didn't end up playing out that way. Yeah. Like, BYU's receivers won in very big moments. And so if I'm just game planning, it's like, no, I would not want to play man against Malik Neighbors and Chris Hilton and Brian Thomas, especially not after what I saw last game. But, Jake, I would ask you, how much of it do you think is just that's their identity, right? Because you can't just get away wholesale from what you do. And so I wonder, and to be fair, what do you think? Have you seen Jaden, do you think he's struggled more against zone than man this year?
I mean, I would think man coverage with his receivers would be an easier situation.
I think so too, but then it's like I also feel like he's done a pretty good job.
Well,
in this last game of finding those holes.
Because he's played really well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, so it's not like it's got one coverage that's going to be better than him against the other right now because he's in that zone and they'll be aggressive. But again, like we're going back and we're trying to figure out, okay, who are they going to be in this game? You have to remember they've had the advantage in every game they've played, Western Carolina, Kent State, BYU. And so you go back and you see a lot of two-man, you see a lot of cover one and different things. It's like, okay, well, are they really going to do that against LSU? Or is it going to be more of what they ran kind of in the fourth quarter once you mentioned BYU's receivers started to have some success and they started to go to quarters coverage? So that, to me, tells me that that's probably something that they would start in against LSU and not go straight. Look, if they go man across the board and you're LSU, you're loving it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you do because I think that out of the four defensive backs, you're going to have the advantage on all of them and certainly on three of them.
Yeah, and so I think that Arkansas, and this is where Arkansas gets put in a tough spot then, Jake, because what you just said, it's not ideal to go man because, like you said, you should have advantages in at least three of those matchups. You then combine that with if your front four can't get pressure by rushing LSU's offensive line, which I think they will struggle to do, well, then what do, right? Do you add numbers and test those matchups that you don't feel great about? Do you sit back and let Jaden Daniels have all day to kind of sort things out and figure things out? Early on against BYU, they were bringing a lot of numbers on third and longs and trusting those matchups. Yeah. Mississippi State tried that against Jaden Daniels last week. They got burned. And then they started dropping into coverage, and they still got burned. So Arkansas, again, I love for the second week in a row the offensive matchup with LSU here. I wonder about the running game because it does seem like BYU ended up having a bit of success on all, and they run a lot of
not this year at all.
Yeah, but they run a lot of gap scheme like powers, counters, hobos, stuff like that. LSU doesn't do a lot of that.
No, they don't do any
really. So I wonder I think the offensive line is good enough to just straight up just like zone block them. But I guess I'm trying to put my finger on exactly how I think the running game will do. I think it should be very successful, especially with the emergence of guys like Logan Diggs. But it's just a completely different running style than what Brigham Young University was bringing to
it's not to say you can't. I mean, this offensive line, these running backs, they know how to run a gap scheme run.
Yeah.
Certainly Mike Denbrock knows how to draw one up. And so if you see something, and you get there on Monday, the coaches have already broken down, gotten the game plan together on Sunday, and all of a sudden on Monday you're putting in a power. Or you're putting in whatever gap scheme run that you want to. I think this unit certainly could handle that. So
the Florida game, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Different staff, but never seen anything like it.
How many times? It was like 14?
It's like
it might have been more.
They went from just doing zone left, zone right to running just counter.
And set the school record for rushing yards in a game. And literally Florida was like, I'm tired of tackling number 3. Can y'all please get this game over with? So, yeah, that can be done. I'm still interested in how much Arkansas. So I looked it up while we were talking run game there. And in cover 1, I think most of you would know that it's a defense that's man across the board with one single high safety. They've played that 45% of the time on defense. Because I went back and I added the first 2 games as well. 45% of the time they've played cover 1.
They like McLaughlin and those DBs.
They do. I mean, otherwise you don't play that. Even if you're playing a opponent that you think there's no way they're going to have an advantage, still to play it 45% of the time, it's kind of who you are.
That's kind of what I'm getting at, right? And so I think that it's going to be tough for Arkansas to suddenly change that this week. And again, I think you're just kind of screwed anyway when I think this LSU offensive line should dominate. All right, let's flip to the other side of the ball. When Arkansas is on offense, Jake, I will say this. This film was one of the most mixed bag of films that I've ever seen in my entire life, in that they came out and they looked really solid early on. Like, my initial notes on the offensive line were, okay, offensive line looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Combined with KJ Jefferson, an effective RPO game, they should be able to put up some points. And I think they were really missing Rocket Sanders this last games. I don't know if those backs behind Rocket don't really feel dynamic at all. Like, Jake, you could break down their reads better than I did, but to my kind of untrained eye, it looked like they were not doing their O-line any favors in terms of making the correct reads, being patient, where the hole was. But here's where it gets weird. Again, I really like the O-line early on, but they seemed to get weaker and weaker as the game get on. Like, the more I watch, I'm like, okay, BYU's D-line's actually like shedding them, right? So I want to see those violent hands from Mason Smith last week that he didn't have at the beginning of Grambling, that he got as the game went on a bit longer. And then I thought he had better last week as well. I know Mekhi Wingo's going to be able to have success in some of these matchups.
So for me, it's kind of the same in the coverage stats that we gave you. All right, let's flip the ball over. What about how they want to run the football? Are they really going to line up and run a version of zone out of their 30 runs 22 times? They might. That might, be what they do, because you look at it, they ran 8 outside zones, 14 inside zones. They only ran 1 power, 1 counter, and 2 pull leads.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's the O coordinator now? I know they brought in
Dan Enos, right?
Yeah, they brought in Enos. Enos and the offense felt like they maybe weren't always on the same page or something. I don't know. I did not like the play calling.
But so for that, again, like it is hard to kind of, did they think they just had the advantage because of who they were? Well, I mean, they got beat, so maybe they shouldn't have. And they played BYU a year ago, but they've been favorites in all 3 of their games. They won the first 2, lost this one. How much did they think they could just line up and do that? Because if you want to run out of 30 running plays, 22 be a version of zone, again, that plays into LSU's hands. I think that's the run fits that they had trouble with are not the zone schemes. They were some of the gap scheme stuff. And so, all right, if that's what you want to do, then individual matchups, you're saying that, Mekhi Wingo, Mason Smith, whoever it might be, that you feel like you can, Savion Jones, who had another good game. So is that what we're going to see? It looks like that's who they are. Are you going to play cover 1 on defense and you're going to run zone on offense? If you are, that plays in LSU's hand.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade, time to slip away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there in the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of Front to Back Boat Service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. After further review on Game Day, presented by the Grove Recovery Center. The Grove Recovery Center. Recovery designed for you. After further review is heard weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now from AFR, here's Matt Moscona.
Here at Rouse's quick update before we bring Matt on. Florida State beats Clemson in overtime 31-24. Despite the fact that Clemson outgained them by 118 yards, 146-22 on the ground, but it was the one turnover, the one sack, scoop, and score from 56 yards out that allowed Florida State to tie the score, and then Clemson missing a 29-yard field goal inside of 2 minutes, and they went to overtime, and Florida State escapes with that victory. Good for LSU, but tough if you were on the Clemson Tigers today.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking. I don't know what you're talking about there.
Presence company excluded, right?
Yeah, right.
Let's bring Matt Moscona in right now as Alabama and Ole Miss have just kicked off. Scone, good afternoon. How are you?
Clemson money line better here, so I'm not doing great, Charlie.
Look, I was on the other side. I should not have won, as bluntly as I can put it.
Well, you know what?
Won.
Last night I had the over in the Wisconsin game, and it hit on a 2-point conversion on a double pass up 21. So the gambling gods giveth, and the gambling gods taketh away.
Yeah, they're really good at that. I can speak firsthand. Matt, what are your big takeaways from LSU's victory last week in Starkville?
Defensive improvement. Charlie, look, I mean, every week we talk, I was bullish on this offense all year. I think this offense has a chance to be really special. The real question after the Florida State game was, we know they played poorly, in particular, in the second half of that game. How much better could they realistically get? Well, you insert Whit Weeks, you insert Greg Penn, you move Harold Perkins back to his more natural position. I thought Andre Sam played a really good game. We saw Ryan Yates. I think this team is starting to figure out what it is defensively, and they're playing much better. So let's see if they can continue to build upon that, because they'll have to be better, obviously. I mean, obvious here, but better than they were in the second half against Florida State if they want to achieve what we all think they can achieve this year.
And they'll have to do this without Greg Brooks. Our thoughts are certainly with him and his family, but from a football standpoint, this is a big loss. This was a senior captain. This is kind of a quarterback back there in that secondary, and frankly, it's probably going to take multiple players to replace him.
Brooks, and first of all, obviously the situation with Greg Brooks goes so far beyond football, so that it feels like that goes without saying. But yes, we all are obviously praying for Greg and for his health and his recovery. just specifically from a football standpoint, not only were you down Brooks, but you're also down Omar Speights last week. So you're literally your two most veteran defensive players were unavailable, and you played really well. How they replaced Brooks last week was really interesting because when they went dime, we saw Ryan Yates play. And Ryan Yates is probably better in coverage than Major Burns, and it kicked Major Burns down into the box. He's a real physical player and can probably play the run a little bit better. So I'm going to be interested, Charlie, to see if we don't maybe see more dime looks where you have 6 defensive backs on the field, but you got defensive backs that are better against the run, playing closer to the line, especially in a game like this where KJ Jefferson is always a threat to take off and run.
With regards to Whit Weeks, I'm not sure anybody could have played, Speights or anybody else could have played any better than the young man. It was, I thought, a terrific debut for a freshman on the road, making his first start. I liked him as a player coming out of spring, but he exceeded even the best expectations.
They love him, man. Like I'm not the recruiting guy. Obviously, that's why you have Shea on. But you talk to anybody around that program, they gushed about Whit Weeks as far as what his ceiling would be. Now, I thought last week that they would start West Weeks. I mean, that's a third-year guy. He was 21 years old and just an older, more experienced player. But that goes to show you how much confidence they had in Whit. His third ever collegiate game on the road, SEC opener, he gets the start. I mean, and led the team in tackles. So never out of position, physical at the point of attack. I mean, the second defensive play of the game, he crashed down, filled that hole, and got a TFL. So he looks the part, and that's the guy that I think we're all going to be real excited to see wear the purple and gold for 3 years.
Last week against BYU, Arkansas blew a double-digit lead. They gave up a lot of big plays defensively, but I think the offense is what we focused on a little bit more this week because we don't know if they'll have Rocket Sanders in this game or not. I'm tending to start to believe no, but we don't know that for sure. But this offense looks a lot different than it did to me with the departure of Kendall Briles as the OC. When you look at Arkansas offensively, what stands out to you?
Yeah, it's so different, too, because when Dan Enos was there the first go-round, they were a pretty explosive offense. But the game has shifted so much just in a half decade or so where you just see everybody running whatever version of the spread in the hurry-up, no-huddle. So Briles' offense did more so suit the current game of college football as opposed to what Dan Enos is doing. When I watch Arkansas on offense, it feels incomplete because you don't have Rocket Sanders. I mean, just consider, Charlie, KJ Jefferson is 6'3", 255. Rocket Sanders is 6'2", 245. I mean, those are two massive runners that are physical at the point of attack. AJ Green is 5'11", 205. So it's dynamically completely different with Green in the game as opposed to Sanders. The other thing, talking to a lot of people in Fayetteville this week, there is a lot of concern about that offensive line, in particular their tackles. They've had some injuries and they've had a little bit of a shuffle on the line of scrimmage, and that's a big part of the reason why they stumbled against BYU last week. So I really think, man, this is a great opportunity for LSU's defensive front seven to really flex, limit KJ in the running game, make him a passer, and pressure him, with stunts and different looks that Matt House is really good at. So I really think LSU's front seven against a struggling Arkansas offensive line is probably the key when Arkansas has the ball today.
Since you talk to people in Fayetteville, the people that you talk to, what are they saying about Sam Pittman? Because we're starting to hear a little bit of grumbling and groaning right now. He got off to such a good start to his career there. He exceeded some expectations in a lot of quarters, but now the record is below 500 in the Southeastern Conference, and they're starting to talk about, contract buyouts and things of that nature. What did you hear this week?
Well, I haven't heard that he's in any jeopardy, right, as far as losing his job. Now, that's not to say that you go on a long skid this year, those conversations wouldn't start. But this is a program that its high-level success feels like a distant memory when you consider the Chad Morris era and how poorly that went. And, man, Brett Bielema, it's been a long time since they have been since Bobby Petrino fell off the motorcycle. I don't know that he's in trouble this year, Charlie, but the real interesting thing, when Pittman got that job, there were so many conversations comparing it to Coach O, because it was a guy that, had never been a coordinator, but was a good recruiter. And the whole concept was CEO, hire good assistants, everything like that. Well, the real question was what would happen when look, Kendall Briles, Barry Odom, two great coordinators. When they both leave in the same year and you have to replace them, can you continue to replace them? And just look at map to when it started to go south with Coach O. When he lost Dave Aranda and Steve Ensminger stepped aside, he was never able to adequately replace him, and that's when the thing fell apart. So I think that's the real interesting thing. If he can't continue to hit on his coordinator hires, then you see that things start to face dive, sort of face plant a little bit. I don't know that he's in trouble this year, but you put up a sub-500 year this year with KJ Jefferson as a senior where they had big expectations. You go into next year with him leading a lot of hot seat conversations.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know that he's in trouble either, but I did think it was interesting. It was pointed out to me that if he has a below 500 career record, then they save 25% on the buyout. It's about $5 million bucks. So just something to think about. Like I said, I don't think he's in trouble, but if they get to the end of the season, he's got a sub-500 record, and they can save a little bit of money if they think they're going to do it anyway next year. I wouldn't say he's completely out of the woods if things go south on this.
Remember, sorry, just one thing real quick. Remember, his first year was COVID, and they went 3-7.
Right.
They hadn't won an SEC game in like 2 years.
Yeah.
So going 3-7 was a major accomplishment because they won 3 league games. It was 10 conference games. So that, even though it was 3-7, felt like a big deal. But it's interesting you point that out because the thing that felt like a big win then might be used against him.
Yeah. Real quick before we let you go, any thoughts about Ohio State Notre Dame tonight? Got a pick? Got a theory?
I think they got the wrong team favored. Night game in South Bend with Sam Hartman under center, who's been maybe the best quarterback in college football this year. They're pulling all the stops, the green jerseys and all that stuff, and that partly with I'm just not impressed with Ohio State. So, yeah, man, I think wrong team's favored. I think Notre Dame wins.
All right, Scone, we appreciate Whiskey and Wine after the game with LSU and Arkansas.
At Don Juan Cigar Bar, me and T-Bob, as soon as the clock hits 0, we'll be live on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel and Facebook page.
Fantastic. I'll talk to you then.
All right, guys. See you.
And we are underway in the 2:30 games. Ole Miss stalled on their first drive. Alabama with a drive into Ole Miss territory, the 26-yard line. Oregon with the opening kickoff. They are in Colorado territory, the 31-yard line on their opening drive of the game. From Rouse's, this is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and 7 have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985
98.1. The Dependable Storage College Football Scoreboard. Dependable Storage. Let us store your stuff. DependableStorage.com.
All right, 2:30 games are underway. Alabama gets a field goal on their opening drive, and with 6:57 to go in the first quarter, it's 3-0. The Crimson Tide. Utah with a pick 6 on Dante Moore to open the scoring in Salt Lake, and they've got another drive going inside the UCLA 30-yard line. 7-0 Utah, and they're not even 2 minutes into that game, and they're threatening to go up 2 scores. Third quarter score: Western Michigan leads Toledo 24-14. Halftime: Georgia Southern leads Ball State 23-0. Maryland with an early touchdown. They lead Michigan State 7-0. That's got the potential, not this game necessarily, but that season with the Mel Tucker
Michigan
situation to really unravel. They were dusted last week. A very good Washington team last week. That's got the potential to be not so good. Louisville leads Boston College 7-0. Kansas leads BYU 7-6. I don't think they have attempted the extra point there.
Doesn't look like it.
So the extra point to come there. Duke and UConn are scoreless. Blue Devils, though, are down inside the UConn 25-yard line. New Mexico and UMass are scoreless early. Texas Tech leads West Virginia 3-0 about midway through the first quarter, but West Virginia down in Texas Tech territory at the 31-yard line. Oregon, a touchdown on their opening drive of the ballgame. They lead Colorado 7-0. That's 5 minutes in. Delaware State and Miami of Ohio are tied at 7. No score in the first quarter for Miami and Temple, Florida Atlantic, Illinois, and Louisiana Tech at Nebraska. Earlier finals today: Florida State escapes, outgained by 118 yards, outgained 146-22 on the ground, but they win in overtime. Number 4, Florida State 31, Clemson 24. Florida State had a sack, scoop, and score in the fourth quarter that tied the ball game. Clemson missed a 29-yard field goal inside of 2 minutes in regulation, and they outplayed Florida State today, but they did not get the win. Michigan, number 2 in the country, beat Rutgers today 31-7. They spotted the Knights 7 points in the first quarter, and then ran off 31 in a row in Jim Harbaugh's return. Number 16 Oklahoma beat Cincinnati 20-6. That's a league game, by the way.
Yeah,
for the moment.
for 1 year. That was it. That was the only league game.
For 1 year, Oklahoma went to Cincinnati. Syracuse beat Army 29-16. Dino Babers' group should be ranked this week.
That's a good win.
They're 4-0 now. They should get into the rankings. Texas A&M beat Auburn 27-10. Max Johnson came off the bench in the second half and threw 2 touchdown passes for the Aggies. Troy beat Western Kentucky 27-24. Marshall beat Virginia Tech 24-17, and my scoreboard just went kaplooey here. Oh, there it is. TCU beat SMU 34-17, and Tulsa beat Northern Illinois 22-14, and that is your college football scoreboard. We're here at Rouse's. You get your tailgating supplies. I mean, this is so easy, just right off the LSU campus. All of your food, all of your spirits, your beer, your wine, ice, tons of ice. Basically anything that you need. I always say when you come into Rouse's, Musso, if you go right, all your groceries. But if you go left, just all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Here's the Mongolian grill, the chef's connection, the chop house, the bakery, the cooler. Okay, the cooler is huge. The hot bar. Get meals to go here. Hot boiled seafood, all here at Rouse's, just a couple of miles off the LSU campus. Stop here on your way in. LeBear's countdown to kickoff is just over 3 hours. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Opposing Media. Presented by Rev. Fiber fast internet made in Louisiana.
Earlier this week, Matt Moscona sat down with Quinn Grovey of the Arkansas Sports Radio Network. We bring you that conversation now.
Quinn, great to have you back, man. How are you?
Matt Moscona, what's going on, my man? It's good to be on your show again.
Hey, man, it's always great to hear your voice, and I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Man, give me just a feeling, finger on the pulse, what it's been like this week, coming off a really disappointing loss against BYU, where, quite honestly, Quinn, the Hogs let one get away on Saturday up there.
Yeah, and before I jump into that, I just want to send my thoughts and prayers out to Greg Brooks and his family. I know he's going through some things, and we're praying for him over here in Arkansas as well. I know you guys are over there. So,
absolutely.
We'll continue to pray for him. But, yeah, we let one get away. When you look at the game, Matt, Sam has wanted this football team to start quickly, and that's what they did. They got out on them 14-0, and this was really one of the weird games I've seen in my career of doing football games, is because of the number of runs. It was almost like a basketball game. It's like Arkansas comes out and gets 14, BYU gets 21, Arkansas comes back and gets 10. BYU gets 14. It was just a game of runs right there. And usually I'll say a great football team will respond. So BYU did respond. Arkansas responded. But to give up a 14-point lead right off the bat and then give up a 10-point lead, 31-21 in the second half, at home when you got a packed house, I mean, that's very difficult to swallow, knowing that you're staring a 4-game, basically road trip in the face. You got to get every one of those that you can get, and they definitely let one get away.
Just kind of ear to ground, listening at what the conversation's been like there at Arkansas. It feels like a lot of the questions are surrounding this offensive line for Arkansas. Can you kind of break that down for me? What's going on there with the O-line with the Hogs?
Well, I think it's a combination of a couple of different things. One, I think it's the fact that the first 2 games, Western Carolina and Kent State, Arkansas really did deploy an entire run game. What I mean by that, they tried to run, basic inside zone, outside zone, G-power with the running back. Arkansas's run game is really difficult because when you insert K.J. Jefferson into the run game, you can go from that power type stuff to finesse really quickly. And where that works well is against a guy like a Harold Perkins. I mean, you got to sometimes make him play responsibility football instead of just see ball, get ball. So I think Arkansas really just loaded up and said, hey, we're going to run the football without KJ. Well, Western Carolina overcommitted and, stopped the run. Kent State really didn't overcommit. They just did a good job of stopping us. But, yeah, you got some things you're trying to work through on this offensive line. They had not gelled away probably Sam and Cody Kennedy, the offensive line coach wants. So there are some things that I know we're concerned about over here, but we feel like we've got a great coach in Sam Pittman. If there's one area that he can cheer up, it's going to be the offensive line, and I think they'll be able to do that. I mean, part of it, too, Matt, is this new offensive scheme that they're trying to do with Dan Enos. But Sam is all about trying to get back to being very, very physical. And the one thing I always say is I don't care if it's Western Carolina or Kent State, and if they overcommit to the run, you got to be able to run the football when people think you are going to run it or know you're going to run it. But I get more concerned about short yardage and red zone opportunities trying to run the ball, and you're not running it extremely well. So I think that those are the things. If you had to think about all the things in the run game, I think the biggest thing Sam would tell you is we still have to get better at short yardage, and we got to get better at running the football inside the 10 on the goal line.
Do you expect Rocket Sanders to play? And if so, what's a realistic expectation for what he could do coming off the knee injury?
Man, I don't know. That's a great question. I mean, my gut tells me I don't think you'll see him. But that doesn't mean anything. Sam and all those guys, they really have the answers to that. But my gut says he's probably not going to play. I mean, look, playing against a team like LSU, you need to be able to protect yourself. I mean, it's hard out there. It's rough out there. And so if he can't run the football, be effective, and protect himself, I don't think you'll see him. So that means, A.J. Green, Rashad Dubinion, Dominique Johnson, those guys are going to have to step up in a big way. But I think the way they're going to offset that, there's not going to be any question who's going to be the leading ball carrier in this game. There's going to be K.J. Jefferson for Arkansas.
Quinn Grovey's with us. By the way, on Twitter, at QuinnGrovey4. Give him a follow. Former Arkansas quarterback's in the Arkansas Hall of Fame. You know good and well what it's like as a quarterback to carry the football. If you would kind of – look, we didn't get to see KJ last year, right? I mean, that was a Malik Hornsby game. KJ was a late scratch. All week, weren't sure if he's going to play. How much – it's an obvious question, but maybe you can go into some nuance here. How much does the dynamic of the game change with KJ out there?
Oh, it's everything. It's everything for this football team. It's not only everything for the offense, it's everything for the defense. He's the one guy that really connects with everybody on the team. So you got to have it. I mean, you could see last year. I mean, anytime he went out of the game, it was trouble. And that's why I think one of the biggest acquisitions that Sam got this offseason was the fact that he was able to get Jacoby Criswell to come from North Carolina as KJ's backup. And this is a guy that can actually win you some football games. So we feel good about that if KJ had to go out, but we don't want that to happen. I mean, everything is so much better. The confidence, the rhythm. And KJ is so smart. His football IQ is really, really off the charts. And Dan Enos puts him in situations where he's doing a lot of pre-snap stuff at the line of scrimmage. He's doing a lot of post-snap stuff as well. But it's a little bit different than what he was doing with Kendall Browse. Kendall was, making all the alerts and checks. You would see the team stop for a second, turn to the sideline, get the play. They don't do that nearly as much. And KJ has a whole lot more control and a lot more autonomy to to make plays happen and what he sees. The only thing about it right now, and I had to go through this too, is my senior year, I had to learn a new offense. And I don't care. I don't care how it happens. It's very difficult to learn a new offense and put it together and have success early. Now, I mean, a guy like Shadur Sanders is debunking that theory, but when you have terminology that's different, you got to be able to walk into that huddle with confidence and be able to, call those plays out and believe them and be able to get them right and not be stumbling and fumbling over your words and thinking about a lot of things. So I do believe the newness of the offense has led to the offense's slow start. But with that, I think the defense has really picked up in a big way. The defense is much better than it's been in the last couple of years, and they have been very opportunistic. They've created turnovers. They've created short fields. They've created lost yardage plays. So I think you're going to see a defense that, for the first time, I think we've got too deep on the defensive front. We've got some athletic linebackers, and we brought in an influx of talent in the secondary. They're good. I know they gave up 38 to BYU, but I promise you BYU had a short field. They were able to take advantage of some things that Arkansas let them 15 penalties, 16 penalties, whatever it was. But, yeah, it's an opportunity for this defense to really help this offense out. And they've got to do what they've done all season, create turnovers and create a short field for an offense that is not hitting on all cylinders.
Quinn, I'll go to the defense in a second, but one more on offense since you brought up Dan Enos. What is the most noticeable difference in what Arkansas does offensively with Enos as opposed to Kendall Briles?
When you look at that, it's more of Dan Enos' green game in general. He'll run a bunch of bubbles. He'll run a bunch of tunnels. When the run game is not working, they will use that as an extension of the run game. And so I just think his screen game is off the charts. I think he finds a way to utilize his personnel. You'll see Arkansas in more 12 personnel, which is one running back and two tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I think that those are really the two biggest differences that you'll see. We thought we were going to see KJ on the center a whole lot more. We really haven't seen a whole lot of that. But I think the 12 personnel is really trying to find an advantage in the run game. And that goes back to the philosophy Sam's talking about, just really trying to be physical. And when you run those two tight ends out there, you force the defense to really make a decision. Am I going to come in here and try to play with a lighter DB, or am I going to bring in a linebacker to really try to stop a tight end? And then now you got to really think about what are you going to do to that linebacker in pass coverage. So that's really one of the key advantages that he's looking at. And those are the two things that I see the most.
Quinn Grovey's with us. A couple more on Twitter at QuinnGrovey4. Y'all give him a follow. Does a great job talking Hogs. Of course, he's the color analyst on the radio broadcast there for Arkansas, being Tiger Stadium Saturday. Defensively, I think it's well documented the struggles that the secondary had a year ago for Arkansas. But I look at the defensive front, I see a whole bunch of really veteran college football players. Is that the key, Quinn, for Arkansas defensively on Saturday? It's stop the run, contain Jaden Daniels, and make him throw?
That's probably the MO for every defensive coordinator that's playing against LSU. I know Jaden Daniels had a great game against Mississippi State, and it feels like Jaden Daniels is starting to get back on track. I don't know what happened to him in the Florida State game, but they know that he is going to carry the football. And I think both defenses have to deal with similar things in KJ and Jaden Daniels. You know that quarterback is going to be heavily involved in the run game, and they're very effective in the pass game, and how do you deal with that? My question is, Jaden Daniels, can he sustain running the football the way he has? I think he was LSU's leading ball carrier last year.
Yeah.
And at 6'3", 6'4", whatever he is, and not very big, he's taking some shots, man. And he's the leading ball carrier for LSU again. I just wonder if LSU can really sustain that. And that's what I look at. And when I was watching their very first game, I was just like, man, this cat is taking shot after shot. And I'm surprised that he's getting up every single time. So obviously he's pretty tough and really good at what he does. So that's a lot of carries. He's taking a lot of shots. So hopefully he can hang in there.
For Sam Pittman and the Razorbacks, they're a big underdog in this game. We all know that. What is the blueprint for Arkansas to come pull the upset? How would the game have to look?
Well, I think for Arkansas's offense, I think the first thing I would ask, and I was screaming at the TV when I was watching LSU play Florida State, is where's Harold Perkins? And are they going to let him do what he does, or are they going to have him be one of the best safeties in the country? I mean, they're going to have him playing pass coverage so much. I was wondering what they were doing with that. But if they turn him loose, they got to have a plan for him. And so you got to have a snap count plan for him. You got to have a pass protection plan for him, meaning knowing how to slide protection or have a back or tight end chip, because he disrupted us to the point where he almost single-handedly beat us last year. Yep. And so you got to have a plan for him. And you've also got to run directly at him. So offensively, that's one thing, having a plan for Harold Perkins And then KJ has got to be able to try to stretch the secondary for LSU. I think they've got some folks out there that, you don't have a Greg Brooks out there, so I think that's maybe the weakness of this team from what I've seen. And so if Arkansas can find a way to try to stretch that secondary, because they're going to have chunk plays. 16 plays for 75 yards is going to be very, very difficult to do. So you're going to have chunk plays in field position. So I think you've got to be able to do that. And then I think you got to see KJ with 15 to 20 carries. They do that on offense, they're good. Or they're going to have a chance. I won't say they're good.
Mm-hmm.
But then defensively, this defense front has been good, from a tackles for loss perspective. So they've got to be able to create lost yardage plays. So winning on first down, in my opinion, is going to be very, very critical for them because it is putting Jaden Daniels in obvious passing situations. But then they got to make sure when they do that, they can't let him out of it with his legs. And so LSU's got a boatload of talent, and you just got to make sure you watch Neighbors and the rest of those guys.
He is Quinn Grovey on Twitter at QuinnGrovey4. Y'all give him a follow. Former Hog quarterback, does a great job on the Arkansas Radio Network. Hey, man, we appreciate it. Hope I get to see you this weekend when y'all come in town, man.
All right, my man, Matt. I appreciate you.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Talkin' Tigers. Presented by TRICARE. TRICARE. For all your gas or diesel vehicles needs, take it to TRICARE. Talkin' Tigers. Running back Logan Diggs.
Winning is really, really hard, especially in the SEC. So I mean, you're just grateful for every win that you have, you know. And it's easier to move on and focus on another opponent after a win. So I mean, I wouldn't say that it's really difficult to move on because short-term memory, wins and losses. I mean, you still got another game next week. So I mean, I think we do a really good job as a team of forgetting. We celebrate our wins and then forget hit, and then on to the next.
Defensive end Savion Jones.
I feel like we did a lot of progress going from week 1 to where we at now. You know, we had a couple of bumps and bruises along the road, but I feel like we slowly patching it up right now. And the whole D-line, we starting to put it together now.
Offensive lineman Charles Turner.
Really, it's just instilled in all of us throughout the whole group. You got to prepare for anything, really. So, like, you know, when we study for teams and we study for things, like, we're not just studying for our position, like, oh, he just no center and just no guard. Like, everybody has to know all 5 positions, because if somebody goes down, then we got to step it up as the next man up. So it's just like, you know, when we have a situation like that, and, you know, we have guys like Lance that can step up for us, and, you know, guys like Emery can bump in the guard and play guard for us, it just makes our unit a lot better.
Linebacker Greg Penn.
I think we have great depth right now, great versatility. I think a lot of guys can do everything different. We got Omar coming back this week, which would be a great help. His experience, his leadership. Obviously, guys like Whit and West, they're great players. Whit's going to be a great player. Christian Braithwaite, he's coming along too. He's a young guy still learning. I just think we have a great room right now. And then obviously Pert, he plays everything. So, I mean, I just think we have great versatility, and I think our room is on the climb.
Running back Logan Diggs.
Their front 7 is really good, super talented. They have a very good defensive end. Number 7, I think he's a Missouri transfer, and they have a really good secondary. They play a lot of man, so I mean, we're going to use that to our advantage. We're going to use the skill set that we have in our receiver room, and I mean, they're going to challenge us, and I mean, we're going to embrace the challenge. And I mean, the O-line knows that their front 7 is really good, and they're taking that personal with a chip on their shoulder, and I think everybody, you know, wants to go out there and prove a point.
Defensive end Savion Jones.
He's a real big quarterback, you know, like 6 foot something, 240. So I'll play on him, you know, we definitely can't come in tackling up high and stuff like that, because he's the type of quarterback that's ready to drop your shoulder into him. So we got to make sure we wrap him up and that the backside pursuit be able to pursue to him so we can get him down.
Offensive lineman Charles Turner.
What kind of makes the game tough and challenging is just, you know, it's a rivalry game. So, like, every year, you know, we're going to get their best shot and they're going to get our best shot because we're playing for a trophy. And, you know, it just means a lot, you know, especially in the SEC. These rivalry games mean a lot.
Linebacker Greg Penn.
Last 3 years, I think the game's been decided by less than 9 points or something like that. But we know it's going to be a great game. They have a great team. KJ Jefferson is a great quarterback. Big guy, can move around and things like that. So I just think our defense needs to go out there and just handle the game plan, do our 1-11, and hopefully we can come out with the win.
Running back Logan Diggs.
Caleb's a really, really special running back. He's still, you know, make like freshman mistakes and stuff like that, but I mean, I'm taking him under my wing and, you know, teaching him and showing him everything I know, so he could be the best that he can be.
Defensive end Savion Jones.
It's been great being able to have our full D-line back at full health, so other people can see and realize like who they got to go against and like which one of us you want to game plan against, because having all 3 of us as weapons is a hard thing to try and counter.
Offensive lineman Charles Turner.
You know, just to continuously do what we have been doing the last 2 weeks, you know, just staying on the constant grind, you know, and not getting complacent and not getting too comfortable. You know, like you said, it isn't really a clear team in the SEC West right now, but, you know, we feel that if we just come to work and do what we got to do every day, we'll be back where we want to be.
Linebacker Greg Penn.
He's basically telling us he wants us to be good people off the field and great gentlemen and things like that, hold the door for ladies and things like that. But on the field, he wants us to be dogs and guys that get after it, that play with an edge. And I just think he wanted us to get back to that. I think we got away from that a little bit, and we're trying to get back to that mentality.
Defensive end Savion Jones.
It's been a close game. They're a pretty good team. I see they got a whole new offensive coordinator and all that, but just them as a team, they're a very physical team, man. Just like us, we go put up a fight.
Linebacker Greg Penn.
We know the type game that is going to be Saturday night. We know Arkansas is going to come out with an edge that we got to match, and it's going to be a great game. We know it's going to be a tight, physical game.
Talking Tigers. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come home in Baton Rouge. Send my love down the
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985
98.1. The Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln College Football Scoreboard. Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln, on air line into the giant American flag.
We start in Tuscaloosa, where Alabama playing second and goal from the Ole Miss 7. Jalen Milroe's pass intercepted in the end zone, so Ole Miss will take over possession of the football with the touchback. 7-3, Ole Miss leads at 9:48 to go in the first half. Have I told you about Saban's house?
You've told me about
really
Saban's
nice.
house. This would be the
really
4th
nice.
week in a row you've told me about Saban's house.
It's a really nice house.
Okay. Jupiter Island, Florida.
It's such a lovely little community.
Great golf there.
Yeah, man.
Great
the weather's
golf there.
fantastic. Let's see where else. Oregon leading Colorado 13-0. That game is at the first quarter break. Oregon went for 2 on their second touchdown for reasons passing understanding and did not get it. Toledo leads Western Michigan 28-24 in the fourth quarter. In the third quarter, Georgia Southern leads Ball State 30-0. Number 11, Utah leads number 22, UCLA 7-0. That's early in the second quarter. The touchdown came on a pick 6 off of the freshman Dante Moore. Number 18, Duke leads UConn 10-0. That's early in the second quarter. Other second quarter scores. Number 20, Miami leads Temple 14-0. Florida Atlantic leads Illinois 10-7. Maryland leads Michigan State 20-0. Extra point to go there. Tagovailoa with a 1-yard run for the latest touchdown, and it's got the potential to get ugly in East Lansing.
Well.
Nebraska leading Louisiana Tech 7-0. Louisville leads Boston College 27-0. This is 1 week after Boston College just did everything but beat Florida State. The letdown factor is real in Louisville. They're down 4 touchdowns. Kansas is leading BYU 14-7. West Virginia leading Texas Tech 7-3. Other second quarter scores: New Mexico leading UMass 14-7.
I was just saying Neil Brown, man.
hanging on.
Yeah, I
hanging
can't
on.
say I was expecting that.
West Virginia was one of my picks this week, but I do think that Neil Brown's in a little speck of trouble overall, but I did like him in this spot. Ohio leading Bowling Green 21-0. Miami of Ohio leads Delaware State 17-7. Number 23 Tennessee leads Texas San Antonio 14-0. Joe Milton's got a touchdown run in that game of 81 yards. Nice.
Stay hot, UTSA.
That's what you think of when you think Joe Milton.
That's exactly.
The wheels, right? Not the arm.
Not the arm.
81-yard touchdown run. Oklahoma State and Iowa State are scoreless. I'm just going to leave that right there.
35.5 was still, And Mike Gundy. Mike Gundy is a coach in this game.
Just gonna leave that. Yeah, well, he's the coach, but he's not the quarterback.
That's true. That is true.
That's where their problems are. They're playing 3 of them right now. When they say if you play in 2 quarterbacks, you really don't have any. What happens if you play 3? You're in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, you really don't have one.
South Florida leading Rice 3-0. That game is in the first quarter. Earlier finals today. Number 4 Florida State beat Clemson 31-24 in overtime. Florida State got a scoop and score in the fourth quarter to tie it. Clemson missed a 29-yard field goal. That was a kicker, Musso, that was on the team last year, but then he left and he was down Tendon Bar somewhere.
Yeah, in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, and they brought him back.
This is his first day back.
Was he still in school?
He was. Okay. He was. He's in grad school. He's online classes.
I wasn't kidding about the Tendon Bar thing. I think he was.
Yeah,
he was.
Something like that. In taking online courses and today missing 30-yard field goals.
Wow. Number 16 Oklahoma beat Cincinnati 20-6. Syracuse goes to 4-0 on the season. They beat Army 29-16. Texas A&M beat Auburn 27-10. Max Johnson, former LSU quarterback, comes off the bench and throws 2 touchdown passes in the second half for the Aggies. Troy beat Western Kentucky 27-24. Kentucky beat Vandy 45-28, despite Dennis Leary throwing 2 interceptions. Marshall beat Virginia Tech 24-17. Hokies now 1-3 on the season. TCU beat SMU 34-17, and Tulsa beat Northern Illinois 22-14. And that is your college football scoreboard. Ole Miss not doing anything with the. No, I'm sorry, playing second down. That game is in the second quarter. Still to come, we'll go up to the press box and talk with the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Richard Dixon will be with us for Keys to the V. We are at Rouse's. No better place than Rouse's for all of your tailgating supplies. And, the Rouse's brand, been around a long, long time. When they put the Rouse's name on it, it's quality products, but without the name brand pricing that goes along with it. They put Rouse's on it, and it's good. Stop by here at Rouse's Burbank and Lee, just a couple miles off of the LSU campus. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here. Now, for life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
We're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Keys to the B. Presented by Coors Light. Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill.
What's going on here in Tuscaloosa? Ole Miss with a sack and then a penalty that drove them back inside their own 5-yard line. So it was a short snap, and the punt was blocked by Alabama. Tough break for Ole Miss in that the ball went out at the 1-yard line and not out of the end zone, which would have allowed them to free kick it away. It would cost them 2 points. But Alabama then promptly snapped the ball right through the quarterback, and so it's back at the 14-yard line, 2nd down and goal. Ole Miss is leading in that ball game 7-3 with about 7 minutes to go in the first half. Let's bring in Richard Dixon now to talk about tonight's game in Tiger Stadium. Rich, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing good. Watching this little emotional roller coaster, thinking Ole Miss going to do something. They get a punt block in the end zone.
We're watching this game as we're doing the show.
I'm staring at the TV right now.
It looks like to me that Alabama is so frustrated offensively. Ole Miss is spying Milroe, which is what I would do too. Yeah. And other than him running the football, they don't have a whole lot going for them offensively right now.
It's all they got. I mean, Milroe's throwing the ball a little bit better today, other than the pick. I mean, up until that pick, he made some good throws. They haven't figured it out. The running backs didn't get going. That offensive line is just surprisingly not very good for Alabama, and that's where Alabama's always been great.
They were just handed 1st and goal at the Ole Miss 1-yard line, and in 3 plays went backwards 23 yards. Yep. 3 plays, 23 yards. They were given, like Musa said, they were given a gift at the 1-yard line here on the short snap. Anyway, well, it's a really nice house in Jupiter. Rich, your big takeaways from last week, LSU's win against Mississippi State.
They started to do the little things right. I mean, Coach Kelly's been talking about, the 3 or 4 plays, 3 or 4 throws, guys just not making the right read. They did all the little things right last week, and it shows. They're a very talented team, and when they're on their A game, they're going 100 miles an hour. They can beat anybody.
You were talking on the show yesterday about some of the things that LSU's been able to do in the option game, and I don't mean the traditional option, but getting Daniels out to the outside and having the ability to come back with a counter play because they're running people off the edge at him 2 at a time.
Oh, no doubt. We saw the first 2 weeks that play got shut down. It's a big play for the Alabama 2-point conversion. It's been a good play for them, but these defenses have seen it now. They're not letting it happen. They're going to bring a Sam safety blitz off the edge and make that decision have to happen a lot faster. What we're doing right now is countering back to a dive up the middle, and it's going to bring those 2 guys off the front, which those guys are going to be all slanting, and it gives you a little bit of gaps up the middle.
One of the other things is the addition of Lance Hurd into the offensive line rotation. Rich, he's a good player and he'll continue to get better, but it's also allowed them with Emory Jones on the inside to have a little bit more pulling action. He's a pretty good pulling guard.
There's no doubt. My biggest thing about bringing Hurt into the game is you have your best offensive guard in the game. And that's just by moving Emory Jones down. He plays different. He plays more aggressive. He's way more comfortable. And you can really see it in the run game. When those two guys get in there, they're starting to move guys around and creating lanes.
You liked Whit Weeks from the very beginning. You were a fan, and I told you last week I wanted to join the fan club that you started. For a talk about just how difficult that is, Rich, for a freshman in the middle of that defense, making your first start on the road in the league, and he played very, very well.
What it does, it just speaks to his intelligence. He's a very intelligent guy. I mean, playing inside linebackers like the quarterback of the defense, you got to know everybody's position, know what everybody's doing. And for a guy that young to be able to pick it up and just look seamlessly, we talked about it earlier this week on Friday. The communication was great. Those guys were flowing. There wasn't any confusion. It's just so tough. I mean, I've told the story a million times. I had to sit there with the coaches every Friday night and continue to go over the game plan just to make sure my mind was right. This guy's looking good. He's just a very smart football player.
And not for nothing, but how much different do they look in this game against Mississippi State as opposed to the first game against Florida State when Harold Perkins is on the outside and Weeks is on the inside instead of Perkins being on the inside?
You got two linebackers with extreme speed, and that causes problems. It takes the eyes off Perk a lot when Weeks is in there. What he put on film last week of him shooting gaps and taking advantage of situations and flying around the ball, more eyes are going to have to be on him, and they're going to have to choose. It's just not going to be Perkins this time. It's going to be Perkins or Weeks.
How does Arkansas actually maybe try to neutralize Harold Perkins in this game? Because as we all know, I mean, he single-handedly won it last year for LSU, and they got to have some type of plan for him this time.
What you're going to do is you're going to try to put swing men, get a lot of guys in the flat, a lot of backs up the backfield, and try to make him get him into coverage.
In coverage, I thought he did a better job last week. It's still not, the biggest part of his game, but I thought he was a little bit better in that situation last week. Rich, offensively for Arkansas, they have not used KJ Jefferson in the run game as much as I thought that they might, as much as they have used him in the past. I don't even know if a spy is necessary because he's just not looking to run very much.
It really depends if Rocket Sanders is in the game. I feel like they haven't used him right now because his counterpart is Rocket Sanders. When Rocket Sanders is running the ball, he's going to wear down those backers. Then you can let KJ Jefferson come in there being a big 245-pound quarterback and lean on those guys and make them a lot more tired. Right now, I don't think they want to put him in that situation just to wear him down without Rocket in the game.
All right, LSU and Arkansas, give me one or two keys to the V for tonight's game.
My keys to the V is just continuous improvement. We've gotten better each week. Do the little things. Try to get 10% better this week. And if these guys continue to get a little bit better each week, we're going to be okay.
All right, Rich, we'll see you on the post-game show 90 minutes after the end of LSU and Arkansas. See you then.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
All right, we'll take a break. And we come back, we'll go up to Tiger Stadium, visit with the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. That is next here from Rouse's Market, where the LeBear's countdown to kickoff is 2 hours and 20 minutes. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Inside the stadium. Inside the stadium. Presented by K to Z Window Coverings. K to Z Blinds.com, where style meets functionality, both inside and out.
And we go over towards Tiger Stadium and the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Chris, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, Charlie. Good. It's getting a little hot out here. You know, it felt good this morning. Felt like it should this time of year. But once we got around 12 noon, it started to swelter again. But it's hot. People are starting to show up. Maybe a late arriving crowd for tailgating here on a Saturday.
Chris, this has been a very emotional week. Everybody in the program with their thoughts on Greg Brooks and the surgery that he went through, and continue to pray for him and be worried about him. But that emotion, they've had to deal with this all week. I know it's been a real emotional week.
Yeah, it really has been. And, one of the things that Coach Brian Kelly talked about this week with the team, he kind of mentioned it on Thursday on his show, Charlie, was, let's go out and play for Greg. Let's play for number 3. And let's handle those emotions. And it goes back to what he said, following week number 1, which was, to have that competitive edge, you've got to have that emotion. You've got to have that fire, but you have to be able to contain it. And, the team knew on Saturday what had taken place. It hadn't been made public yet, but we were told on Saturday morning when we arrived at Starkville. And, they were playing for number 3 last week. And I thought they did an excellent job of taking that emotion and turning it into positive energy. So, I think that's the message this week going into an important game, SEC home opener. It's Arkansas. It's obviously based on what I'm looking at that's happening in Tuscaloosa. What happened today in Bryan College Station. I mean, the SEC West is up for grabs. So this is a big game tonight.
When you look at LSU's performance against Mississippi State, I was impressed the day of. I went back and watched the game again. Man, look, that's about as complete a performance as you can have. A couple of holes on special teams in coverage, but nothing really glaring. That was when you went back and looked at the game again. What stood out to you?
Well, I was impressed with, LSU being able to get pressure on the quarterback with, basically 4-man rush most of the day. There were a couple of times that Harold Perkins came out on the edge, but, they really took advantage of, I think, a Mississippi State offensive line that's still trying to transition from the air raid to more of a running or power team. But they got after it. They imposed their will most of the day. I think back to the first play from scrimmage for Mississippi State. It's a 12-yard completion for Will Rogers, and you're like, wait a minute, I've seen that movie. And then that was about it. They gave up 2 plays over 20 yards or more on the day. And then offensively, I just thought they were just super efficient. It was awesome to see Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors be on the same page and hit some big hitters for touchdowns. But it was really all the throws that Jaden provided. I thought the offensive line did a good job. I still think the running game's coming along. I like Logan Diggs. I like the way he runs the ball. It wouldn't hurt me at all if Logan and Caleb Jackson tonight carry the majority of runs for LSU, because I think that's a nice 1-2 punch and a little bit of switching gears. And I know that Caleb is still kind of learning the full position and pass protection, but maybe put him in there when you're not looking for pass protection. You're just looking for somebody to run the ball like a man on fire. But you're right. I mean, outside of giving up a couple of big runs on kick returns to one of the best in the business, by the way, and Tulu Griffin, I thought it was a solid, complete game for LSU.
Chris, the game last year, which I will forever remember as the Harold Perkins game, because that's what I remember most about that game. But this is a different-looking Arkansas team, 2 new coordinators, and the real differences that I see on offense is basically that they are not utilizing K.J. Jefferson as a runner nearly as much as I remember that they did under Kendall Briles. So when you look at Arkansas, what stands out to you on either side of the ball?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, I've talked all week when I think K.J. Jefferson and the success they've had when he's been quarterback. It's been him down the field 20, 25 yards, carrying 5'10", 195-pound cornerbacks to the end zone. You look up in that game against BYU, and I watched the game, most of it anyway. It still stunned me that he carried only 13 times. And it didn't appear there were a lot of design runs for him. Now, I understand last year, when we normally play Arkansas towards the end of the year, he wasn't available. And he took some shots in that win against Texas A&M. He took some shots against Alabama. So I don't know if that's the reason why. But talking to some folks up in Arkansas this week, I mean, they feel like, with Raheem Sanders still not expected to go tonight as the number 1 running back, if K.J. Jefferson's only carries the ball 13 times tonight against LSU, whether it's a design run or whether it's improvising and pulling it down and running, if Arkansas is in the game or winning the game, that would be a surprise.
You just mentioned Sanders. I don't know if you do we know for sure, or are we just not expecting him to play? What's the latest on him?
Well, when I talked to some folks on Thursday, they said no. I mean, they said they didn't think he would play, but again, take that for what it's worth. I mean, I don't know if that's just a compounding negativity of the week they've had. Just simply because it's been miserable up there in Northwest Arkansas after that BYU loss. But, the 3 people I talked to said, you can put him on your spotting chart if you want to, but we don't think he's going to play.
All right, Chris, we'll hand the baton at the top of the hour. What's coming up on Network Pregame?
Well, there's one big guest coming, Charlie, at about 4:40. Again, as you know, Kim Mulkey. She's had a pretty good run as a head coach, pretty good run as a player. She's going to join Hunt and the guys at Tiger One at 4:40. They open practice on Monday, which is open to the public, and I'm sure she'll get everybody stirred up, not only for women's basketball, but probably for LSU and Arkansas tonight. So that's probably the headline guest. I hate to take it away from Brandon, Hunt, and Marlon, but Kim probably takes the cake.
Well, none of those guys have a statue.
That's true.
Oh, she got a statue this week, right? So I mean, you get a statue, you get to be the featured guest. It's just it's Coach Mulkey's world. We just we just live in it. That's all there is to it.
You got it.
All right, Chris. Have a great call, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, Charlie. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Alabama had a 3rd and 19, I think it was. Yeah. Defensive penalty?
Yeah.
Bailed them out? What defensive holding?
Defensive holding, yeah.
Yeah, that's just fantastic. Okay. Inside of 2 minutes to go now in Tuscaloosa. Ole Miss leads in the first half. Ole Miss leads Alabama 7-6. We'll take a break, come back, and wrap things up here at Rouse's. LeBear's countdown to kickoff is 2 hours and 10 minutes. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving.
98.1.
Continues here at Rouse's as we come down the stretch here. Here's a stat for you, Musso.
All right, what you got?
Alabama has run the ball 22 times today. How many yards do you think Alabama has? Now, this is counting the sacks, of course.
Counting the sacks. Oh, okay.
22 carries for...
I could go really aggressive. Good Lord, Jackson Dart just got destroyed.
It just knocked his head off.
Oh, he's fired up, though. I like that. I could go super one end of the spectrum and say negative, but I think I'm going to go 5. I'm going to say they have 5 rushing yards.
24.
Okay.
22 carries for 24 yards. The point being that the quarterback is having problems, okay? But it's not all his fault. And he threw a bad interception in the end zone. But this is not all on him. They can't run the football. Yeah. And he has been there's been a couple of times where he's had some time. But for the most part, he's been harassed most of the day. And frankly, Alabama caught a break on the punt because Ole Miss had a penalty, which meant that they didn't have the full 15 yards to snap it, so they had the short route to the punter. And then the ball goes out of bounds on the 1-yard line. If that goes into the end zone, then you get the safety, but you're not going to get the field position. They went backwards. They went 23 yards backwards in 3 plays.
I mean, that's on the short list for one of the more baffling things you've ever seen in the Nick Saban era there. I mean, that at Alabama. I mean, not to be hyperbolic, but I mean, they were on the 1-yard line, lost 23 yards.
We just don't ever expect – I don't expect Alabama to look
like that.
Ordinary.
Yeah.
And they don't look ordinary. They look bad. Now, defensively, they're doing some nice things. They're tackling well. Ole Miss is not getting a lot of yards after the catch, and they put some decent pressure on Jackson Dart. But offensively, they are a mess. They are an absolute mess.
They have a lot of the same problems they had last year, and everyone focuses on the quarterback so much this year because the quarterback covered up so many problems last year.
And all this is okay, by the way. This is
Jupiter Island, Florida.
Jupiter Island, Florida. Can we get a guest from the Chamber of Commerce down there? Alabama Week.
We could work on that. We could make that happen.
We need to play up the community and how nice it is down there. All right, your keys to tonight's game for LSU.
Well, look, hearing Chris Blair there at the end really talk about Rocket Sanders, and it sounds like he's not going to play. So how Arkansas uses KJ Jefferson, how LSU can stop them. It feels like it's going to be similar to last year when without KJ, Arkansas just couldn't move the ball, and you knew that. I mean, it just wasn't a threat. I don't know if it's going to be to that scale this year because you're missing a running back and not the quarterback, but get him on the ground if you're LSU. He's a tough guy to get on the ground. I know they haven't run him much, but if they don't have Rocket Sanders, I expect them to try to run him. So get him on the ground. And then offensively, just, man, execute. Look, I don't expect Malik Neighbors to go for 239 yards again or whatnot, but if LSU executes their game offensively soundly, doesn't commit penalties, they should be able to put up plenty of points against an Arkansas defense that is veteran, but it's not great.
The big plays that they gave up a week ago against BYU is what stood out to me. There were 6 plays of 20 yards or more, these explosive plays. Overall, the yardstick looked okay, but it was those big plays that really allowed BYU to come back and win the ball game. And I think that there's some of those big plays that are available for LSU tonight to be certain. And clean up the special teams. That would be my
Can we return a punt?
Not well. The punt that he returned against Grambling, I think, was the first punt that they have run back more than 15 yards
Something
in
like that.
3 years.
I mean, never with the skilled players that LSU has had back there in that position. Never did I think I'd see something like this where it's just a guaranteed fair catch.
No, they've really struggled in that area. So Ole Miss down with the football inside of 30 seconds now, and they are in the red zone, and that is incomplete going to the end zone. Sorry, I just, this game is interesting.
It is.
It is interesting to me because it's the swing of balance. First of all, LSU's playing Ole Miss next week.
Yes.
And, we always have an eye on Alabama because, well, they've been the best for – a long time.
It goes through them.
Most of the time, yes, that's a very good way to put it. The title has to go through Tuscaloosa, and they just look like a very, very ordinary football team right now. Okay, LSU and Arkansas. Tigers trying to get to 2-0 in the league. We want to thank the people here at Rouse's for all your tailgating needs, all your supplies right here close to campus. Come on and stop by your Rouse's multiple locations in Baton Rouge. We're the one right by campus for all your tailgating needs, all your ice, your spirits, your beer, all of your food. Get it here at Rouse's. We'll be back 90 minutes after the end of LSU and Arkansas. From all of us here at Rouse's and everybody back at the flagship, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. This has been Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Eagle 98.1 WDGL and HC1 Baton Rouge.